Regular meeting 19 will now come to order. Would you please stand for the playing of the national anthem? Madam Treasurer, would you please lead us in the pledge? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This evening, we are pleased to have our own Monsignor Cody to pray for council this evening. Welcome back to council, Monsignor.
Let us pray together. O good and gracious God, this holy time of year for Christians and Jewish people reminds us of our origins and our destiny. The sacred events of our Judeo-Christian tradition remind us of your goodness, Lord, who extends his love and grace to all who long to find meaning for their lives and a way to live in harmony and peace with one another. In the book of Genesis, you revealed to us that we were created in your image and likeness. During this and next week's celebration of Holy Week, Easter, and Passover, may these feasts inspire all of us who look to you as our Lord and God to recognize all people as brothers and sisters and sons and daughters of you, our God, that we may work and live together in peace, harmony, and mutual love and concern for one another in fulfillment of your holy will for us. We also keep in our prayers Connie Swackhammer, who is ill. May she experience your healing love. We also pray for the people of France as they witness the burning of the beautiful and historic Cathedral and Basilica of Notre Dame de Paris. Through the intercession of Mary of Nazareth, in whose honor this cathedral was dedicated, intercede for the city of Paris, all of France, and for all who reverence history, architecture, and the glory of God. That this treasure may be restored for the edification of all humanity and also for the glory of God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Monsignor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of City Council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This week's communications received by the City Clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the City Bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read in the record?
Not at this time.
Are there resolutions by members of council? President Pro Tem Liz Brown.
Thank you, Council President Harden. I first have an announcement. I will be hosting my second Meet Me at the Playground community office hours on Saturday, April 27th, from noon to 1:30 at Maloney Park, located at 1701 Joyce Avenue. A reminder, you don't have to have a child in order to come by and chat with me. But if you do, and you're constantly trying to find time to parent and work and advocate for your community all at once, I hope we can help you take care of several responsibilities at once. I now have a resolution I'd like to present. Before I do, would the representatives here from NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio, Planned Parenthood, Root, Pro-Choice Advocates, if you would come to the podium, please. I want to let them walk up. This is a difficult resolution to present tonight, and I want to thank these women to start with, and the many, many women across our state who are fighting for the rights of all women and who are doing very, very hard work to do so. Tonight I have Resolution 0129X-2019 to oppose and condemn the enactment of the 133rd General Assembly's 6-week abortion ban through substitute Senate Bill 23. Last week, Governor DeWine signed into law one of the most restrictive 6-week abortion bans in the country. This ban will have profound negative impacts on the health of women in Columbus by effectively eliminating access to all legal abortion services, without exceptions for cases of rape and incest, and with woefully inadequate protections for the life and health of women. Abortion access is a key component of quality health care access for women. If a woman is not able to make decisions with her doctor in the interest of her health and dominion over her own body, including the decision to have an abortion, she suffers and our community suffers. This isn't theoretical. A study of state policies relating to reproductive choice showed that the more abortion restrictions a state has, the worse its health outcomes are for women and children. Here in the city of Columbus, we are working to improve the health of women and infants. Via Celebrate One, we are taking on the most significant factors that contribute to Columbus's infant mortality rate by reducing premature births and connecting families to important resources. Via local organizations like Restoring Our Own Through Transformation, public health advocates are also working to improve Black maternal and infant health and to combat unconscionably high mortality rates for African American women and babies. Throughout this work, the research and the lived experiences demonstrate that the largest contributing factor to infant deaths is maternal health. More babies are likely to live to their first birthdays if their mothers have a lifetime of good health care and health. The bottom line, eliminating access to safe and legal abortions works directly against our initiatives to reduce infant mortality. As one of the most extreme restrictions in the country, substitute Senate Bill 23 also hurts our ability as a city and as a state to attract businesses, young professionals, and entrepreneurs who help drive local economic growth. The ban threatens doctors with prison time and fines for performing duties in their capacity as medical professionals. Because of this, our ability to attract and retain qualified and trained medical professionals is also hurt. On top of everything else, the 6-week ban is unconstitutional, as courts throughout the country have ruled based on similar bans enacted by other states. Rather than implementing regressive and extremist policies like Senate Bill 23, I invite state policymakers to instead focus on real efforts to reduce unintended pregnancies and promote the success of all families. Invest in comprehensive sex education, ensure access to contraceptives, and give all families access to quality, affordable childcare. In fact, on the agenda tonight, we are making an investment to identify the early learning services that best meet the needs of the Hilltop community. I invite the governor and the legislature to be our partners in this work, rather than enacting policies that work against our goals to help all families succeed and that work against the long-term health interests of women. I want to say thank you to the women, including our elected officials in the State House, who bravely told their stories about why access to abortion is such an important component of comprehensive health care for women. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to the advocates who fought against this awful and regressive legislation. The fight for women's health is ongoing, and the enactment of this ban is a severe step in the wrong direction, but the fight continues. I would like to invite to the podium Meg.
Members of Columbus City Council, thank you for this resolution opposing Senate Bill 23. My name is Meg, and I reside in Columbus, Ohio. I was pregnant from May until November last year, and my unborn child was very ill. She was missing 116 genes. These missing genes caused her to have a hole in the heart, irregular formation of the brain, club feet, kidney issues, possible blindness, possible brain tumor. If I was to carry her full term, and that's if she made it, she would have to have open heart surgery, kidney transplant, leg and foot surgery. The genetic counselor said she wouldn't also be able to make decisions and cognitively be there. I was 20 weeks pregnant when the doctors found the first problem, hole in the heart. 24 weeks when they found about missing chromosomes and other abnormalities. I had to make the hardest choice of my life. I went back and forth of the pros and the cons about keeping this child alive. She was the only case in the world with this chromosome deletion, and the unknowns of her future were terrifying me. I knew I could not see my precious daughter go through all these surgeries, and the risks were way too high. The choice that I made was out of pure love. Love for me, love for my daughter, and love for my future children. It was just 5 short months ago that I was in labor. I had to fly to Boulder, Colorado to do the procedure. I know I made the right decision. However, my own state of Ohio did not support me. I was grieving since I found out about her hole in the heart on October 5th. I never thought in a million years this would happen to me. Because procedures like this are not covered by most insurances and cost out of pocket $8,000 to $10,000. I'm lucky that I had a great organization to help me with the financial burden so I could focus on my healing heart. Senate Bill 23 passed and signed into law last week will force other families like mine to have to travel outside of state and incur additional financial burdens during an already difficult time in their lives. I appreciate this resolution and City Council standing up against these attacks on abortion access. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Debelick.
My name is Alan Debelak. I'm serving as an interim pastor at Hope Lutheran Church in Driving Park. I volunteer as an escort at Planned Parenthood Clinic on the east side, and I serve on the board of NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio. As I watch the antics at the State House in regard to the 6-week ban on abortions, I said that we were witnessing what I call a conspiracy of tyranny. So when I learned that the City Council of Columbus was intending to pass a resolution opposing and condemning the 6-week ban, I felt honored to be a part of this city. Thank you. Sacred violence takes place whenever the powers around us attempt to unite themselves around a scapegoat. Hate with conviction destroys the well-being of a people. The systemic attempt to scapegoat women who make decisions that address their reproductive health is the face of evil, often clothed in religious righteousness. Historically, religious righteousness is often a source of demonic actions that can be witnessed within Scripture and also in our society. In the midst of the voices of legislative brutality, we need voices that counter the power of such activity. And I think with your actions tonight, Columbus is saying no. Columbus is saying we will not be silent in the face of heartless threats against the women of our state. Columbus is standing with women whose medical choices should not be managed by a state house or the religious convictions of some. Columbus will be making a stand against a national movement, whipping out boilerplate bills that are being spoon-fed to willing legislatures who would rather victimize women than look after their well-being. The City of Columbus will be honoring women by standing with them, no matter how organized anti-abortion groups may be. I applaud your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I move for adoption, are there any additional comments from colleagues? Councilmember Favor.
So, Meg, I just want to offer my sincere condolences for your unspeakable loss. And I want to applaud your bravery, your courage to stand here before this council and for these people that you may never see again in your life, and to tell your story. And by you having the courage to tell your story, you will give others the freedom to continue to tell their story. This is one that we cannot afford to let fade away, that we need to continue to have this conversation. So thank you. To my colleague, thank you for taking the leadership to make this resolution known for the City of Columbus, because we all do stand against this. And I just want to say thank you publicly for that.
Thank you, Council Member. Anything else? Councilmember Dorans.
I just wanted to compliment the courage of the folks who are in this room, your advocacy today and what happened at the State House last week. It's not easy to share those kind of stories, to push back on this kind of extremist legislation. And it's important, even with the result that we had, for folks to tell those stories, to lay the groundwork for what comes next. It's unfortunate that we live in a world in which we now have to rely on the courts to be that backstop here to push back on this kind of legislation. But one is compliment the folks in this room and their courage for having done so over the past few weeks. I know it hasn't been easy, so thank you for having done so.
Thank you. Council President.
Thank you again, President Pro Tem. I just wanted to add my appreciation for all the activists and the folks that worked tirelessly last week and that still continue. Dr. Martin Luther King said the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And that is true, but the truth is also that sometimes that arc wobbles. But what we need to know, and what all of us need to know, is that we have work to do. So stay encouraged, stay at it, and we will continue to fight for a more moral state. I appreciate you guys being here and being on that front line. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. With that, with the knowledge that this council does not shame women, that this council promotes the success of all families, I move for adoption.
Second.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Mitch Brown. Councilmember Dorn.
No resolutions, but I do have one announcement I'd like to make this evening. I want to announce my April community hours. The first will be held a week from today on Monday, April 23rd at the Northside Library from 5 to 6:30, and on April 29th at the Driving Park Library from 11:30 to 1. As some of you may know, I consider myself a pizza enthusiast. My wife may have stronger words than that. But we'll be doing at one of our community hours each month, we'll be providing slices of pizza from a neighborhood pizza joint to encourage folks to come out. My staff has come up with a very clever pun, give your councilman a pizza of your mind. I'm told to pause for laughter. Okay. So this month on the 23rd, so a week from today, we'll be having Adriatico's, neighborhood pizza place near campus. I hope folks will join me and enjoy a slice of pizza on me. So thank you, President Harden. That's all I have at this time. That's all I have at this time. Thanks. Thank you, President Harden.
Thank you, Councilman Dorrance. Councilmember Favors.
Thank you, President Harden. No resolutions, just an announcement. I also have community hours this week. So Wednesday, April 17th, from 1:30 to 3 p.m. at Tim Hortons, located at 2062 East Livingston Avenue. And then because we don't have a meeting next week, I will have another set of hours on April 24th at Dunkin' Donuts, 5095 West Broad Street. Unlike my colleague, I have a coffee habit, maybe? Yeah. So hope to see you all there. Have a good one. No, nothing else for me.
Thank you, Councilmember Favor. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, President Harden. I might have to come by and have a piece of Adriatico's with you. Tonight I have resolution, I'd like to invite Rebecca Molino and Klaus Eckert to the podium as I introduce Resolution 126X 2019 to recognize and celebrate Monday, April 22nd, 2019 as Earth Day in the city of Columbus. Earth Day is an annual recognition founded by United States Senator Gaylord Nelson as an environmental teach-in that was first held on April 22nd, 1970. For 2019, Earth Day will be dedicated to protecting endangered and threatened species, including bees, coral reefs, elephants, giraffes, insects, whales, and more. Celebrating Earth Day represents all of the hard work that has been done and will continue to be done to protect our planet and keep our families safe. Green Columbus, a Central Ohio nonprofit organization, started the local celebration of Earth Day Columbus in 2007. Earth Day Columbus helps coordinate volunteer opportunities during Earth Day Service Week while also organizing the Earth Day celebration at Genoa Park. Since its inception, Earth Day Columbus has helped Central Ohioans plant more than 130,000 trees, volunteer over 120,000 hours, and resulted in more than $3 million worth of goods and services being donated in Central Ohio. Columbus City Council encourages all residents to volunteer during Earth Day Service Week by going to www.earthdaycolumbus.org. We also are very thankful for the many people and organizations in our community who dedicate their time during this week to clean their neighborhoods and help our environment. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Columbus, the Council of the City of Columbus, that this council does hereby recognize and celebrate Monday, April 22nd, 2019 as Earth Day in the City of Columbus. Rebecca, Klaus, the floor is yours.
Thank you, council members, for having us tonight. Earth Day Columbus has become a welcome tradition in Central Ohio, and we're pleased to also say that it's the largest volunteer service event of its kind around Earth Day in the country. The City of Columbus has been a great partner and supporter of this event every year. Starting out, the events of the burning Cuyahoga River is how we started 50 years ago. The first Earth Day was celebrated in 1970, and that means that next year we'll celebrate the 50th Earth Day event.
We hope to follow up with many of you regarding next year soon. We would like to plant 50,000 trees and provide volunteer opportunities for all of Earth Month in 2020. This could have a transformative impact on the city. This year, we distributed 20,000 trees to be planted. Over 170 events and counting are happening until next week. Feedback so far is fantastic. Many Serviceside hosts have reported record volunteer turnout over the weekend. We would like to invite all of you to volunteer at one of the many service sites in your neighborhood and celebrate with us on Saturday, April 20th at Genoa Park. Finally, I would also like to invite all of you for our Monday morning tree nursery events in Linden and Hilltop with American Forests and JP Morgan Chase setting up 2 tree nurseries with the goal of giving away 1,500 trees in the fall. Thank you very much for inviting us, Councilmember Remy, and for the resolution.
Thank you, Klaus. What times is that celebration on Saturday down at Genoa Park?
The celebration will happen from noon to 8 p.m. and the first 45 minutes will be the Green Spotlight Awards. So we're looking forward to having the city give awards to the members of the community as well.
Yeah, it's a great event. Bring the family. Hopefully it's a nice sunny day and actually a little warmer than today. I know my team was out and a lot of people on council were out yesterday in the Near East Side over by OSU East doing cleanup. And so I think there was over 150 different events that you can go to at earthdaycolumbus.org. So certainly if you get the opportunity to do that, it is a great time and a good way to give back. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
I will also be having community hours tomorrow. My team and I will be at Cafe Phoenix at 39 East Gay tomorrow afternoon from 4 to 5:30. So those of you that are downtown, come on, stop on by. We'd love to hear from you. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. Councilmember Tyson.
Sorry. Thank you, President Harden. I have Ordinance 132X-2019, and I am going to ask for Dr. Todd Walker, Coach William McKinney, and all the other representatives from the Africentric High School, as well as all the young ladies on the team. This is really an exciting resolution that we're going to be presenting. And this resolution is to recognize and to celebrate the 2018-2019 Columbus Africentric Early College High School Lady Nubians girls basketball team for winning the Ohio Division III State Girls Basketball Championship. Whereas the City of Columbus and the members of Columbus City Council are proud to honor and celebrate the youth of this community as they represent more than just a state of mind. They represent the quality of our imagination, the triumph of courage over fear, and the very future of this community. Whereas Columbus Afrocentric Early College High School, known as the Nubians, was named after the ancient African civilization that flourished along the upper parts of the Nile in what is now southern Egypt and northern Sudan. First proposed in 1993, the school has an academic focus that includes a respect for African American culture, tradition, and values. The school has more than 494 students who are committed to scholastic excellence. It has an 88% graduation rate, and more than $3.4 million in scholarships were awarded to the class of 2018. Whereas this year, Coach William McKinney, a Naismith Coaches Award finalist, and the Columbus Afrocentric Lady Nubians, led by McDonald's All-American MVP Jordan Horston, ended their 28-0 season with a 51-47 victory over the Waynesville Spartans on March the 16th of 2019 at Value City Arena on the campus of The Ohio State University to win their 7th state championship, tying the state record with Pickerington Central and Cincinnati Mount Notre Dame for the most titles in the 43-year history of the Ohio High School Athletic Association for Girls Basketball Tournament. Whereas the road to the championship included the school winnings its 11th City League School Championship, the first undefeated season in school history, a national ranking of #3 by ESPN.com, #4 by the MaxPreps.com, its second state championship in a row, its third championship in the last four seasons. Afrocentric secured state championships in 2007, 2009, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2019. Whereas the 2018-19 Basketball Lady Nubian State Championship Basketball Championship team included Ariana Smith, Malaya Johnson, Jordan Hurston, Samaka Walker, Alexia Smith, Naeem Thornton, Tara Cook, Sharjay Brock, Lyric Ransom, Coach William McKinney, and his assistants. Moreover, the Lady Nubians collected postseason tournament wins over Columbus Northland for the City League Championship, Fairbanks, Fredericktown, Liberty Union, Utica, Margaretta, Liberty Benton, Highland, and Waynesville. and continuing the winning tradition of Columbus City Schools with a team GPA of 3.28. 3.28. Whereas Columbus Afrocentric Early College High School has a committed teaching staff led by Dr. Todd Walker and others who believe in the importance of academics and opportunities to help students learn in ways that express and expose their talent. This spirit of leadership, combined with the support of parents, teachers, administrators, friends, and a community of others, has successfully guided the school to a tradition of success, which includes securing the 2019 State Girls Basketball Championship. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Council of the City of Columbus that this Council does hereby recognize and celebrate the 2018-19 Columbus Afrocentric Early College High School Lady Nubians girls basketball team for winning the Ohio Division III State Basketball Championship. I move for adoption.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you. I don't know if, Coach, if you're going to speak first, or your principal, or Mr. Walker. Good evening, and welcome to Chambers.
Thank you for having me, President Harden, members of the council. With sincere appreciation, I greet you on behalf of Dr. Talisa Dixon, as well as the Columbus School Board. Thank you for this opportunity of recognition for these young ladies who've worked extremely hard, and for Coach McKinney, who for years have labored. Many people don't know the story of his success, that for years he had a team that did not win state championships, but he stayed with it, he stayed after it, and the fruits of his labor are before us today. And so thank you again, Councilmember Tyson, for this recognition. I know that your commitment and heart is towards black girls. Thank you for this as a recognition and an extension of that work. And I turn it over to Coach McKinney.
Just would like to say thank you, council members, for having us here today and also giving us this resolution. I also like to thank our Director of Student Activities, Mr. Vincent Clarino, for joining us here today. I just wanted to take this opportunity once again to thank all of these young ladies for all of their hard work and dedication and time that they put into the basketball court, but also into the classroom. They will continue the tradition of academic and basketball excellence here at Columbus Africentric, and as well as when they graduate and go on to college. We just have a few fantastic alumni who had an opportunity to stand right here years ago, who are doing some fantastic things out into the world. We have educators. We have a young lady, Alicia Howard, who just was hired on with the WNBA New York Liberty as a director, PR. Also, we have a young lady, Renee Waters, who was just accepted into the Princeton doctor's program for neurology. So Africentric Lady Nubians, like I said, there's just a long history of just excellence, and these young ladies will definitely go on and continue that excellence. And also I want to just thank all of their parents who are here today, and also one of our former coaches, Mr. Kevin McCain. He's somewhere back. I would like to thank Kevin for being here today. He was actually one of my assistant coaches, and he's back there wearing his state championship ring from 2012. So the Africentric Lady Nubian legacy is just going to continue to grow. Thank you.
Any comments from my colleagues?
Coach, don't leave yet. You got to, are we going to do a three-peat, or are we going to just stay back-to-back?
Yes, we will do a three-peat.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you. But I think it's important, as I said to all the young ladies, to appreciate the hard work and the dedication and the discipline that it takes to be able to be champions, no matter what the sport may be, in the classroom as well as on the court. And I, for one, am very, 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 very proud of what you've been able to accomplish. And like I said, since the coach said you're going to be back here next year, how many people are leaving, Coach? We have how many seniors? 2 seniors, so just about everybody else will be back, right? Okay, at least as long as you say so. Then we expect to see all of you back down here again next year. It's not easy being champions. is very, very difficult, and especially when you talk about winning back-to-back. That is really special, and if you take it to a three-peat, that's even more special. And it'll be records that'll be around for a long, long time. When one of you will be sitting up here on City Council or Council President or Mayor of the City of Columbus and be able to speak to the progress and things you've been able to get accomplished. So congratulations, Coach.
And I do want the young ladies to be able to introduce themselves. But before I do that, there's two comments I need to make. We were having a conversation before we came out on council floor with the young ladies and with leadership from the school, and we were just talking about the difference between what happens with the difference between what happens with young women and young women and young men. And as I read the number of championships that this school has acquired, one of the young ladies said, "Are we going to have a parade?" Let me just share this. They said, the difference between what happens between boys' championships and girls' championships are like night and day. Night and day. And that diversity, that disparity has to change. This school deserves a parade. They asked for a parade, and by asking that means we've got to think about what do we need to do to make sure you have a championship team like this. How does this community recognize them? And so now that it's been brought up, now that means we've got to do something about that. So I appreciated you speaking up, and I appreciate, again, it's another way of showing that guys and young ladies are treated differently. So that's something on us. But before I have them all share their names, I would like to read another resolution from the floor. And this resolution is Resolution 134X-2019. And as we state, it takes a team to do this work. But I also have to highlight, or we would not be remiss if I did not, I have to honor and recognize and celebrate the unique achievements of Miss Jordan Horston, who was named and recognized as the most valuable player of the 2019 McDonald's All-American Girls Basketball Team. Whereas the City of Columbus and the members of Columbus City Council are proud to honor and celebrate the unique and gifted talents of extraordinary people from our community, especially the magic of our young people who represent what is possible with their display of courage over fear. Whereas Ms. Jordan Horston, with the support of her family, and her mom is here, and her dad is here, with the support of her family, friends, coaches, teammates, and a host of others, has risen to become a face of courage for youth of this community, inspiring her teammates, friends, and countless others with her unique gifts, talents, and leadership skills. Whereas Jordan, who was born in Dallas, Texas, has been living in Columbus, Ohio, her mother's childhood home, since she was 4 months old. Jordan is the proud daughter of Miss Malika and Mr. Lee Horston, the sister of Jasmine, and the cousin of Sylvia Crawley, a Steubenville High School star who was a member of the University of North Carolina's NCAA Women's Division I basketball championship team in 1994, and now serves as the assistant coach at her alma mater, UNC, and the great niece of Mr. Joe Gillum, who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joe was the first African-American quarterback. Now look at Councilman Brown, because he loves Pittsburgh Steelers. So he's moved. Yeah, and oh boy, first African-American quarterback to start a season opener after the AFL-NFL merger of the 1970s. Whereas Jordan's unique basketball talents began to be cultivated at the age of 5, when her father Lee, who served as an assistant men's basketball coach at Northland High School under Coach Sullinger, during the championship run, began coaching and training Jordan to become the lady and leader she has become. Jordan was named MVP of McDonald's All-American Team in 2019. However, her awards also include being named a member of the Jordan Brand Classic in 2019, the 2019 Ohio Gatorade Player of the Year. She was named MVP of the 2018 FIBA U17 World Cup team. She was a member of the USA U17 national team in 2018. She was named by the Associated Press as the Division III Ohio Co-Player of the Year in 2018. She's a member of the 2018 member of the USA Today First Team Ohio. She was a member of USA U16 National Team in 2017. She was Associate Press Second Team Division III All-State team in 2016 and 17. Whereas Jordan is a 4-year starting senior at the Columbus Africentric Early College High School, where she has a 3.5 grade point average. She is coached by Coach William McKinney, who was named as a 2019 A. Smith Coaches Award finalist. She was a member of the AAU All-Girls Basketball Team Black, where she was coached by Coach Johnny Bartha. She was a 2019 Naismith finalist, the 2019 MVP by the Ohio High School Coaches Association, the 2019 All-Metro Player of the Year. She's earned 2 gold medals with USA Basketball. She is #1 ranked Williams point guard in United States, USA. She is ranked the #2 player in America by the USA Today, and she will be taking her talents to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville with the Lady Volunteers on a full scholarship. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council does hereby honor, recognize, and celebrate the unique achievements of Ms. Jordan Horston, who was named and recognized as most valuable player in the 2019 McDonald's All-American Girls Basketball game. I move for adoption.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Thank you. I don't know if the parents would like to say anything. Lee, you've been coaching her all this time.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for bringing us out here. And Ms. Tyson, just wanted to personally thank you a lot, because the words that you gave to those young ladies in the room back there, that was just moving. I think that's just big for these girls. These girls, they just work so hard throughout, since they're young. I know most of these girls since they was little, and they've been playing basketball all their life, and this is what they came to do, And for you guys just to honor them like this, just huge. One thing that I was always taught was, give me my roses while I still can smell and use them, because that's kind of important. And so I'm glad that you guys are here just to show them that these ladies are important. What they do is important. So just thank you guys for having us out here, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
We want to thank you for your daughter. You didn't say anything about, you think about the whole team, which is team spirit, but we appreciate that. Well, thank you. Jordan, would you like to say a few words?
I just wanted to first off by starting with saying thank you to the council members for honoring us. We really appreciate it. I want to thank Dr. Walker and our superintendent, not superintendent, I'm sorry. This is not the superintendent. Mr. Clarino, for coming down here today. And I just want to thank Coach McKinney for always pushing me, my teammates for always working hard in practice. And I just want to say thank you again, Ms. Tyson, for honoring me. I appreciate it. Thank you again. Thank you.
All right, and now, ladies, can you walk towards the podium and say your name and what position you play and what grade you're in?
I'm Alexia Smith, and I'm a junior, and I play the guard position.
My name is Sakima Walker, and I'm a junior, and I play center.
My name is Ariana Smith, and I'm a sophomore, and I'm a post.
Yeah. My name is Michaela Wheat. I'm a sophomore, and I'm a shooting guard.
My name is Sharjay Brock. I'm a shooting guard, and I'm a sophomore.
My name is Anaya Murphy. I'm a sophomore, and I'm a shooting guard.
My name is Malia Johnson. I'm a sophomore, and I'm a post.
My name is Tiara Cook. I am a senior, and I will be attending Southern Arkansas University on a full athletic basketball scholarship.
My name is Niam Thornton. I'm a junior, and I play point guard.
Don't leave. I have your resolutions. I also have for you, I have a certificate for each of the players, as well as the entire, your coaching staff and everyone who's been helping you to get to this place. So. I have one announcement, and that is on Thursday in council chambers from 3 to 5. I'll be having the Minority Health Month hearing, since April is Minority Health Month. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Tyson. I'm going to go back to President Pro Tem Liz Brown. I think there was one person who still needs to speak on our last resolution.
Thank you so much, Council President Harden. Could I invite Jessica Roach up to the podium, please? Jessica runs Root, and Root is taking a lead in celebrating this week, which is Black Maternal Health Week. And I wanted to give Jessica the opportunity to talk about the investments for women's health that your organization really spearheads, and to talk specifically about this important week.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time, and my apologies for being late. Was also in the middle of giving the national webinar for the Black Mamas Matter Alliance, so parking can also sometimes be a bit challenging. So, but good evening. Thank you again, President Hardin, Councilwoman Brown, and members of council. As Councilwoman Brown was stating, my name is Jessica Roach. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Restoring Our Own Through Transformation, also known as ROOT. Our organization is a Black woman and family-led reproductive justice and birthing justice organization dedicated to addressing Black maternal and infant health and the crisis through direct service, policy, advocacy, and education that empowers the voices and needs of Black families. What is unique about our organization is that our values drive our full spectrum approach towards reproductive health care, specifically as it pertains to Black families and our lived experiences. ROOT also addresses and places a heavy emphasis on addressing the institutional and structural policies that and the deficit-driven health communications that have caused the adverse consequences of the social determinants of health. Reproductive justice is often politically siloed and co-opted into a very narrow frame of just the pro-abortion lens. That is a misrepresentation and only further creates adverse policies that create and contribute to the oppression of Black mothers and fathers and families. And while we are extremely excited by the resolution that has been passed, we understand that in our community, reproductive justice means that it is an intersection that impacts us negatively from a physiological perspective to an emotional perspective and a mental perspective. And it is that intersection that we hope to address. Reproductive justice is not just about the ability to be able to have an abortion. It is about the ability to be able to create a family when, where, how, and if we choose to do so, and to be able to make those decisions within our families without the continued oppression of policy and legislation that dictates to us how it is that we can do that. Safe and sustainable communities have to be at the forefront, and we're very proud as a kindred partner of the Black Mamas Matter Alliance, along with our 27 other organizations across the country and our numerous collaborators to lift Black Maternal Health Week, which has been slightly overshadowed by some of the events, but very much embedded in what it is that we do in order to lift the voices of Black women and Black families and directly addressing our care. This week, which was April 11th through the 17th, as a local partner, we've had an opportunity to host several events, very specifically POC Safe, so that our families could come together, share their experiences, their joys and their hopes, and also meet our direct service staff and get more involved in the levels of advocacy that we are doing. Our final event is on April 17th, where my colleague, Dr. Joya Creer-Perry from the National Birth Equity Collaborative will be coming in and we'll be hosting an event at the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity in the morning from 10:30 to noon. And then we will also be having an additional event from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Pelican Room, where will be a much more informal meet and greet, but opportunity again for families in our communities to be able to come together. And again, I thank the council for the resolution and for discussing the impact of what this incredibly oppressive reproductive health care law will do and continue to do with our families. And we sincerely hope, as an organization that is right here centered in Columbus, doing the statewide and national advocacy work that we are doing, that we can further work with council to be able to address the other issues that most definitely impact our families on a daily basis, from being able to have access to not just affordable housing, but to home ownership and our interactions with law enforcement, but also being able to have access to our own economic development and workplace development through organizations that are primarily Black-led for us and by us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for being here. That's all I have, President Hardin.
Thank you so much. And lastly, I have, certainly not least, I would like to invite up Jay Garrett, Chris Diggs, Nick Klepper, and Matt Bennett to the podium. This evening, I have the honor of introducing Resolution 0127X-2019. It's to recognize and celebrate April 18, 2019 as AEP Ohio Lineworker Appreciation Day. AEP Ohio Lineworker Appreciation Day is a time to express appreciation and gratitude for the hard work, innovation, and dedication of the men and women who serve as electrical line workers. Line workers put their lives on the line, no pun intended, every day as they work with thousands of volts of electricity high atop power lines to maintain the electrical grid that we all rely on. So from Columbus City Council to all the line workers out there, we want to say thank you. Before I move for adoption, I'll turn it over to, I think, Matt.
Yeah, as a lineman myself, I want to thank you all for this opportunity to accept this proclamation on behalf of AAP Ohio and our over 600 line workers. Our crews work around the clock in all weather conditions to keep the power on to nearly 1.5 million customers across the state. This recognition honors those line workers here in Columbus and throughout the state that put their life on the line every day to keep the power to their communities. So, you know, we appreciate your continued support and recognition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, we say thank you and we move for passage. Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Hardin.
Adopted. Are there any comments by our other elected officials, treasurer, city auditor?
President Hart and members of council, I guess sometimes you get what you ask for, and thanks to your diligence with social media and sharing about our income tax hours on both Saturday as well as today, we had over 200 folks attend today alone, and more drop-ins than we could have ever forecasted. Saturday was equally as successful. Department of Neighborhoods with the translation services was just wonderful. So thank you sincerely. We learned a lot, and we can definitely make this even better next time. Thank you.
Good job, Madam Auditor. Thank you for your services. Madam Treasurer, our second city attorneys. Actually, Solicitor General. I apologize. No one from the court. I want to thank the commissioners that are here. I see Ms. Uhouse Sauer from University Area Commission.
Thank you, Councilman President Hart, and I want to thank all of the members of the esteemed City Council for giving me a few minutes to talk about a situation that's unfolding in the university area. A year ago, in 2018, in the spring, the university area and Clintonville were beset with a lot of complaints about noise that came from an establishment at 13th and High. And if you find that extraordinary, so did we. But some of the noise actually carried 3.5 to 4 miles away into Clintonville. This was from a particular bar establishment at 13th and High. And at that time, by December, a number of complaints that had come up about this particular establishment were actually taken under advisement with the city attorney. And we really thank the city attorney for working on an agreement by which a lot of that was able to stop. And since we in the University Area Commission are not exactly in the position of wanting to discourage business, we were very glad that we thought this was going to not be an issue again this spring. However, there are some other issues that are sort of springing up along with this one. So as a Friday night, we found that there were a number of complaints coming in to the University Area Commission from about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away, again from the same establishment at 13th and High. And it was investigated, and we found that the bar had reported that they had a permission to be able to, they had a noise permit that could run until 11 o'clock at night. The university area, we believe, is the only commission that actually reviews noise ordinances. And generally, for us, they come as block parties, neighborhood block parties, Greek organization, fundraisers, and this is very much part of what we do on the university area level. However, whenever we are looking at zoning ordinances and there are variances given to commercial places on High Street, we always remind them we do not really allow outdoor amplification at any time, partly because the neighborhood and the commercial are just really a very thin alley away from each other, and this is a way we try to sort of stay ahead of what might be controversial issues about noise. So we were surprised, and I think I want to also thank not just Catherine Call from the Neighborhood Liaison, but Zach Davidson and people who I know have been going back and forth with the City Attorney's Office this morning to try to sort this out a bit, is that we just wanted to let you know that this situation is unfolding in the sense that we are expecting spring to be a lot quieter this year, is what we had really hoped for. And we are going to be asked very soon to comment on the expansion of this particular establishment, possibly with a patio, a rooftop garden, and a build-out onto High Street. This, although zoning and noise abatement don't necessarily go hand in hand, I think you would understand the view of a community that zoning, for the most part, the underpinning of zoning is really quality of life issues. So when faced with the expansion of this particular establishment, the community may not react as appropriately as perhaps that establishment would like us to act. We now have another little complicating problem, is that we are seeing, and I have personally seen this now, on numerous occasions for a not very warm spring, young people, I'm assuming college age, who are leaving this establishment from early evening through evening, highly intoxicated and staggering into traffic. We are concerned because of the safety of students. We're concerned about drinking. We're concerned about the fact that, for the most part, this has not been the history of the university area for many, many years. We have a lot of wonderful business owners and bar owners who are very much work with the community. And this is just a situation that's becoming a little problematic in the view of the fact that WOSU just suddenly just broke ground last Thursday for $1 million building of the new WOSU at 16th and High. We have millions invested in the public-private partnerships on High Street with the community. And what we would really like to see is that this situation be controlled as soon as possible. And I want to thank the fact that I believe that the city attorney may be sending someone to our area commission on Wednesday when we meet to discuss this. But I just really wanted to bring this out to you. I don't expect you to solve it tonight, but just to be aware of it as we are aware of it and know that it's unfolding for us and will be unfolding for you. This is also an opportunity to tell you that the University Area Commission meets on every third Wednesday, and we always serve Adriatico's pizza. So I have nothing but to offer you that if you're in the neighborhood on a third Wednesday at Northwood and High, you can always find pizza and salad by Adriatico's at our place. Does that work for you? So thank you very much. Are there any questions I can answer? Or? Okay, I think I made my pitch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Doreen. I just want to make sure that you have a contact person from our staff, our team, that you're working on for the first issue of noise.
Right.
Is it Zach? Who are we talking to?
Well, we are actually very pleased to work with everyone on this. I mean, you know, noise abatement is, I think, the kind of thing that is often found in the university areas of all cities. We have collected actually ordinances, and we have collected other legislation that is in other Ohio cities and communities, how Bowling Green has treated this, and we are happy to share that as we sit down and try to work through this, but we just want to let you know that there is a bit of a problem here.
Thank you. Thank you for all the folks that are working on this. I think the city attorney's office is engaged. And I'll say thank you to Ms. Laura. Do you have any comments?
Okay. Thank you, President Hardin. I was in communication earlier this evening with Steve Dunbar and one of the zone attorneys, and he has indicated that they are aware of this situation and have been working with law enforcement. Also, regarding the question of whether or not the bar has actually received a permit, the city attorney's office is not aware of them having received one. So there is an agreement that after 11 p.m. there's to be no outdoor noise, but we are not aware of them having been specifically allowed to have any particular level of noise prior to 11 p.m. So hopefully Steve will be able to work with you on Wednesday to figure that out.
And I appreciate that, because we're aware of the fact that last spring we were often told, oh no, we have a noise permit, only to know they did not have a noise permit for anything. So when those exact words came back to us, we were aware of the agreement that had been reached earlier in December of 2018 as to what was permitted and not permitted. So that's part of, I think, our unfolding story here, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doreen.
Thank you.
Are there any requests by members of council for the removal of any ordinance or resolution? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive the reading of titles of 30-day legislation? Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation?
Finance Committee, ordinances 949, 974, and 989-2019. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 727, 866, 878, and 946-2019. Health and Human Services Committee, ordinances 906 and 907-2019.
We have one speaker on the, that's on the consent. The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent action. Will the clerk now read those ordinance numbers into the record?
Resolutions of expression 128X, 130X, 131, 133, and 125X-2019. Finance Committee, ordinances 804, 864, 947, 958, 965, 981-2019. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 122, 753, 968-2019. Public Safety Committee, ordinances 924, 928, 929, 945, and 948-2019. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 65, 802, 828, 881, 882, 887, 904-2019. Neighborhoods Committee, ordinance 840-2019. Technology Committee, ordinances 768 and 980-2019. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 743, 799, 859, 908, and 940-2019. Housing Committee, ordinances 955, 956, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1012, 1013, 1029, and 1030-2019. Economic Development Committee, ordinance 935-2019. Small and Minority Business Committee, ordinance 990-2019.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have one speaker on the consent portion of the agenda, Mr. Nate Wilkinson. Wilkins. Mr. Wilkins, welcome back to council. Mr. Wilkins is speaking on ordinance 1029-2019.
1612 Arlington Avenue, Mr. Lothair, George Wilkins. I'm kind of against this. I need to know what's going to be done with 160, 158 Ennis Avenue, and how long it's been holding the land bank. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. I will have Director follow up with Ms. Wilkins on that specific address. And would you please copy council so that we know the follow-up as well? Seeing no further, are there any questions or comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may I get a motion for approval? Is there a second? Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
The consent agenda items are passed. We will now proceed with second reading of 30-day tabled and emergency legislation. The first committee is the Education Committee, chaired by President Pro Tem Brown. President Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight in Education, we have Ordinance 0957-2019 to authorize the Director of Education to enter into a contract with Millard Consulting to provide a program needs assessment for the new early learning facility in the Hilltop, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $46,920 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. The City of Columbus continues to focus on increasing access to quality early learning opportunities for children in our city. We know that a quality early education sets children up for success in school and in life. And we also know that access to affordable childcare gives parents the flexibility they need to work and provide for their family. As we focus on increasing access, our reality is that there aren't enough early learning facilities in some of our neighborhoods, with the Hilltop having one of the greatest shortages. This is why one of the recommendations from the Hilltop Early Childhood Partnership was the development of a new facility. In March, City Council took the first step towards building such a facility by approving the purchase of property for a new center. Design is scheduled to begin imminently. In addition to early learning classrooms, the new center will provide critical wraparound services for children and additional programming for families and members of the Hilltop community, a key point in a successful early learning experience. The ordinance before us this evening is to establish a contract to provide the data and research needed to make informed decisions about what types of programming is most needed and beneficial to this community. This work will help guide the ongoing development of the facility and the services it provides. Director Johnson, can you please explain why we are, or Deputy Director Smido, could you please explain why we are waiving competitive bidding?
President Pro Tem Brown, President Harden, members of council, thank you for the opportunity. We're asking to waive competitive bidding this evening because the consultant, Millard Consulting, has already done a lot of work with the city. She did similar work on a similar project for us for the Reeb Avenue Center, help decide what services and programs that should be in Reeb, and I think we all know Reeb has been a tremendous success. It's my understanding she is also working with the Rec and Parks Foundation now for the development of the new Linden Opportunity Center, and so for those reasons, we feel like it would be an easy adjustment for them to start working in the Hilltop area, and therefore ask to waive competitive bidding.
Okay. Any questions from colleagues? Thank you, Deputy Director Smido. And seeing no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
That's all I have in my committees.
Thank you, Chair. Next committee to come before Council is the Public Utilities Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Doran. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. We have two ordinances this evening in public utilities. The first is ordinance number 790-2019 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a construction contract with UCL Inc. for the Hines East Tank 2019 Painting Improvement Project, to authorize the transfer and expenditure of up to $1,723,826 within the Water General Obligation Voted Bond Fund to provide for payment of prevailing wage services to the Department of Public Design, our Public Service Design and Construction Division in the amount of up to $2,000 for the Water Division of Water, and to amend the 2018 capital improvement budget. There are currently 37 water tanks in the distribution system, and 25 of them are maintained by the City of Columbus Division of Water. To keep these tanks in optimal condition, each year tank interiors and exteriors are identified to be recoated. The Hines Road East Tank exterior and interior dry areas need to be recoated at this time based upon that inspection. Roof venting will also be upgraded. Various safety improvements will also be made to ladders, platforms, and hatches, and interior wet coating will be touched up as needed. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Next, we have ordinance number 857-2019 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to pay the State of Ohio Treasurer, Department of Natural Resources for the operation and maintenance services and water entitlement costs for withdrawing water from the Alum Creek Reserve for the Division of Water, and to authorize an expenditure of $1,249,504.86 from the Water Operating Fund. The City of Columbus has an agreement with the State of Ohio, Department of Natural Resources, allowing our Division of Water to withdraw raw water from the Alum Creek Reserve and to pay the state a prorated share of the operation and maintenance cost. The city entered into this agreement beginning in 1971. Since then, Columbus has been making this annual payment to keep the agreement in effect. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, President Harden. That's all we have this evening in public utilities.
Thank you, Chair. The next committee coming before Council is the Public Service Committee and Transportation Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Tonight in Public Service and Transportation Committee, we have ordinance number 916-2019 to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management to enter into a contract with the Ohio Department of Transportation and yet to be named vendors for the purchase of rock salt based on the terms of a cooperative purchase contract to be established by ODOT, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to establish purchase orders for rock salt, to authorize the expenditure of $1,936,000 from the Municipal Motor Vehicle License Tax Fund, $10,500 from the Sewerage Systems Operating Fund, $41,250 from the Water Systems Operating Fund, $3,600 from the Electricity Systems Operating Fund, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate contract purchase agreement for rock salt and to declare an emergency. ODOT is in the process of establishing its annual cooperative purchasing contracts, which allows participating government agencies to purchase rock salt from selected vendors. ODOT will determine the vendors for these contracts. They will also bid cooperative purchasing contracts as a cooperative contract for use by other government agencies. This purchasing effort will provide an overall savings for the city's annual rock salt purchase. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And next in Public Service and Transportation, we have ordinance number 923-2019 to appropriate funds within the Federal Transportation Grants Fund to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract with Shelley and Sands for the intersection improvements Main Street at McNaughton project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2,603,336.78 from the Federal Transportation Grants Fund and the Streets and Highway Bonds Fund for the project, and to declare an emergency. This contract provides for improvements to the intersection of East Main Street and McNaughton Road to include turn lanes, sidewalks, traffic signals, street lighting, and other work as may be necessary to complete the contract in accordance with the plans. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, President Harden. That's all I have in the Public Service and Transportation Committee. May I move to Housing?
Please.
Tonight in the Housing Committee, we have ordinance number 909-2019, and I'm going to invite, as I'm speaking, Ms. Bobby Garber and Steve Gladman to the podium, please. The ordinance reads as to amend the 2018 capital improvement budget to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into contract with the Affordable Housing Trust of Columbus, thank you, and Franklin County as the fiscal agent for the Affordable Housing Alliance of Central Ohio to make financial assistance available as grants to homeowners, home buyers, renters, for-profit, and nonprofit organizations to increase the local supply of decent, safe, and sanitary housing and decrease the number of vacant properties in our neighborhoods, to authorize the city auditor to transfer cash and appropriation between projects within the Development Taxable Bond Fund, to authorize the expenditure of $5,600,000 from the 2018 Development Taxable Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. The Affordable Housing Trust for Columbus and Franklin County was established in 2001. It is an independent nonprofit lender that works with the private, nonprofit, and public sectors to develop affordable housing opportunities within the city of Columbus and Franklin County. The Affordable Housing Alliance of Central Ohio was formed in 2015 by a group of nonprofit organizations that represent the full spectrum of affordable housing development and operations. The goal is to increase the supply of affordable housing opportunities in Franklin County. I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Bobby Garber for some additional commentary.
Thank you. Council President Harden, President Pro Tem Brown, Chair Favor, and other members of Council. I'm Bobby Garber, Executive Director of the Affordable Housing Alliance of Central Ohio, and I'm pleased to be here tonight to speak on behalf of this legislation to allocate $5 million from the 2018 capital improvements budget to the Affordable Housing Trust. This funding last year represented the first significant allocation of new funds to the Affordable Housing Alliance's plan to address the affordable housing gap in our community. And we're very pleased that from this $5 million, the first use of funds is to acquire 2 motels on West Broad Street, which will be transformed into housing for homeless youth and youth transitioning out of foster care, along with providing services to support those youth transitioning into independence. Providing housing linked with services for extremely low-income households with the greatest barriers to housing stability is a high priority for the Alliance. So we're really glad that this is the first money out of the gate. The remainder will be used by the Trust to invest in affordable housing projects to make housing developments more affordable in our community. The Affordable Housing Trust, represented here by Steve Gladman, is a great partner of the Alliance, and we truly appreciate all that they are doing and have done for many years to address the affordable housing gap in our community. They are an Alliance sponsor, and they are working with us on securing private sector investment in new private sector investment in affordable housing in our community. So thank you very much, Steve. I also want to thank, again, I feel like I get to do this every few months, to come and thank the city for being our champion, putting the first significant resources on the table for new affordable housing. It is so important, and we really appreciate it. So we are going to continue as the Affordable Housing Alliance to advance solutions to the affordable housing gap, particularly for our neediest residents, and we're very glad to be a partner with the city on that effort. Thank you.
President Harding, President Pro Tem Brown, Chair Faber, members of council. Steve Gladman, Affordable Housing Trust for Columbus and Franklin County. On behalf of our chair, Robert Weiler, and our whole board, we want to thank you for your continued support of affordable housing and for the trust. I passed out today for you to look at instead of me our annual report from 2017. Our 2018 report will be out in a few days. But I also included something that I think we often forget about. We focus on the good works that the Alliance and others do, creating affordable housing, preserving affordable housing, and making housing available to our neediest residents. But housing itself has a tremendous economic impact, and every year we have an economic impact analysis done, and it's done by Dr. Bill Lafayette, who now serves on our board, and he's done this actually since the inception of the trust. And I give it to you today to look at the impact not only of the units we create, who we're serving, but also just the economic impact for the community. These create a lot of construction jobs. They are managed in place, so all the local supplies, the maintenance is all done locally. Nothing is, outsourced, so it all stays here and is very important to the community. Also, there's a listing of all the loans that we did last year, and you can see the various affordability levels that we tried to attain. We will be working with the Alliance and the City of Columbus to make sure these funds are programmed in a way that the neediest families in our city are assisted with the funds. And again, we thank you for your continued support.
Thank you both. And I believe we also have a speaker, Ruth Jarvis, if you're still here.
Hi. My name is Ruth Jarvis, and I'm a member of the BREAD organization located at 404 South 3rd Street. We're glad that the city will be formally accolading these funds tonight. The work of the trust fund leads to housing for seniors, people with disabilities, working households, people with special needs. Also, the Affordable Housing Alliance has done the research on this and knows how to best apply these funds. There is another funding request that we'd like for you to approve. BREAD still has 2 requests of the city: encourage developers to set aside new housing units for families that make less than $42,000 a year, and give an additional $5 million per year to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. These are solutions that could be done now as you continue to look at the long-term solutions. We had our members share housing stories here week after week. Hundreds of our members from all over Franklin County are struggling to afford housing. They are seniors, people with disabilities, single parents, college graduates, and others. We'd like to know what it would take for the city to grant these requests.
Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, I have one more thing to say.
Okay.
Thank you. Lastly, we look forward to seeing Council Member Favor at the Nehemiah Action on May 6th. As the chair of the Housing Committee, we'd like to work with her as a champion that night. Thank you. It's on May 6th at 6:15.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Jarvis. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
As the chair of the Housing Committee, I am passionate about improving the quality of life of all of our residents. in every neighborhood throughout our capital city and for providing housing solutions for all of our residents. I have worked tirelessly to combat vacant and abandoned housing while returning unproductive properties to safe and decent homes in order for residents to contribute to our economy. And I will continue to push this fight towards finding housing solutions for all of our residents. I am excited about this legislation because it demonstrates this council's commitment to addressing the issues of affordable housing head on. We know that this will not be the answer to all of our problems, but it is a start. And with that, are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have in my housing committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Favor. With that, just because we still have a good portion left, we're going to go ahead and ask for a recess. Motion for recess. Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Council is recessed. We will start the zoning meeting momentarily. Number 20 will now come to order. May the clerk please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Is there a second? Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
We will now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Tyson chairs that committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Before beginning the zoning agenda, I'll briefly explain the rules of council as pertaining to speaking before council on zonings and variances. We permit 3 speakers on each side, 3 proponents, 3 opponents, and we ask that they limit their remarks to 3 minutes on each side. And we provide an opportunity for rebuttal from the applicant. On the advice of the City Attorney's Office, we ask that anyone here this evening who wishes to speak for or against any council variance, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. I will. Thank you. The first ordinance is 883-2019 to rezone 1545 Walcott Road, being .35 acres located on the west side of Walcott Road, 225 feet north of Trayview Road, from R1 Residential District to M Manufacturing District. The applicant is Kathleen McDonald. The proposed use is an automotive maintenance and repair. The City Department's recommendation is approval. The Cross Creek Civic Association's recommendation is approval. 301. There are no speakers for this legislation, and first I asked my colleagues like to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Amended.
Thank you, and I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 884-2019 to rezone 2695 Holt Road, being 43.48 acres located on the west side of Holt Road, 465 feet north of Big Run South Road, from the LAR 12 Limited Apartment Residential District and CPD Commercial Plan Development District to I Institutional District. If there are no, the applicant is Max Waller. The proposed use is a school. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Westland Area Commission's recommendation is 11-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 899-2019 to rezone 3100 Easton Square Place, being 15.45 acres located on the northwest corner of Easton Square Place and Stelter Road, from CPD Commercial Plan Development District and R1 Residential District to CPD Commercial Planned Development District. The applicant is NRFC Easton Holdings, LLC. The proposed use is a commercial office and parking development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Northeast Area Commission's recommendation is approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 900-2019 to rezone 745 North Wagner Road, being 17.21 acres located at the southwest corner of North Wagner Road and Wangert Road from CPD Commercial Plan Development District to CPD Plan Development District. The applicant is East Point Christian Church. The proposed use is updates to development standards for a religious facility. The City Department's recommendation is approval. The Far East Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 301. If there are no questions or comments, I first move to amend to emergency.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Amend it.
Thank you, and now I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 901-2019 to rezone 6440 East Broad Street from being 2.5 acres located at the northeast corner of East Broad Street and the Outer Belt Street from CPD Commercial Plan District to CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The applicant is Indus Hotels. The proposed use is a hotel and commercial development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Far East Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 4-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 910-2019 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3356.03 C4 permitted uses of the Columbus City Code for the property located at 222 South Cypress Street to conform an existing single-unit dwelling in the C4 commercial district. The applicant is Andrew Sikirkachi. The proposed use is a single-unit dwelling. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Franklinton Area Commission's recommendation is approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 911-2019 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.037 R2F Residential District, 3332.14 R2F Area District Requirements, 3332.19 fronting on the public street, 3332.25 maximum side yards required, 3332.26 minimum side yard permitted, and 3332.27 rear yard of Columbus City Codes for the property located at 568 Lothrop Street to permit 2 single-unit dwellings on 1 lot with reduced development standards in the R2F Residential District. The applicant is Northworks Architects and Planners. The proposed use is single-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Columbus South Side Area Commission's recommendation is approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 912-2019 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.037 to R2F Residential District, 3332.14 R2F Area District Requirements, 3332.19 fronting on a public street, 3332.25 maximum side yards required, 3332.26 minimum side yard permitted, 3332.27 rear yard of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 466 East Blinkener Street to permit two single-unit dwellings on 1 lot with reduced development standards in the R2F Residential District. The applicant is Northworks Architects and Planners. The proposed use is a single-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Columbus South Side Area Commission's recommendation is approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 936-2019 to grant a variance in the provisions of sections 3332.039 R4 Residential District, 3332.38A private garage of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 1374 North 5th Street to permit a private garage on a residential lot not occupied with a dwelling in the R4 Residential District for a 2-year period. The applicant is David V. Kaluji. The proposed use is a residential private garage. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the University Air Commission's recommendation is approval 14-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Ordinance 937-2019 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.035 R3 Residential District of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 123 Franklin Park West to permit a two-unit dwelling in the R3 Residential District. The applicant is John A. Gleason. The proposed use is a two-unit dwelling. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Near East Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 12-2-0. I will now ask for a staff presentation.
Good evening. The site consists of a single undeveloped parcel zoned in the R3 residential district. The applicant proposes to construct a two-unit dwelling on this parcel. A council variance is necessary because the current zoning district only permits single-unit dwellings. The site is within the planning area of the Near East Area Plan, which does not recommend a land use for this location. However, the plan does state that, in general, housing types and densities should be consistent with the housing types and densities found in the surrounding area. Two-unit dwellings are found throughout the neighborhood and are appropriate in this context. Staff believes the proposal is compatible to the urban character of the neighborhood as recommended by the plan and does not introduce incompatible uses to the area. Therefore, staff's recommendation is for approval, and I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. Are there any questions for Ms. Pine? All right, seeing none, I would ask for a presentation from the applicant. Could you please state your name?
Yes, good evening. John Gleason. The applicant with me tonight is Joe Palmer, who is one of the owners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. As indicated, Mr. Palmer intends to or would like to build a two-unit structure on what is currently a vacant lot. The Near East Area Commission approved it, as you indicated, unanimously. City staff has approved it, stating that the two-unit dwellings are found throughout the area and are appropriate. And in fact, there are over 30 multifamily units around this area. Mr. Palmer, who actually lives a few doors down right now, intends to build this and live in one of the units, and his business partner intends to live in one of the other in the other unit. And so what we're taking a vacant piece of property in this area. I believe the staff has seen the renderings, and that will be compatible with the area, and we would ask approval. And we're here, happy to answer any questions.
All right. Yeah, any questions for Mr. Gleason or Mr. Palmer? Seeing none, I will now ask for, we'll have some speakers, but I'm going to ask for speaker that's for this, who's also the president of the Area Commission, is Ms. Kathleen Bailey. Good evening, Ms. Bailey.
Good evening, members of council. I'll be before you very briefly. I'm just doing my job. We were impressed with this. We were impressed with the quality of the development. And I've been in the neighborhood since '84, and I believe this land has been vacant all of that time. So we're very happy that someone came along, wanted to do again, I emphasize the word quality because I've seen a lot of stuff over the years, and we're finally starting to see a change in the types of development that are coming. So I also think it's complimentary that someone who wants to develop in our neighborhood also wants to live in it. So that means we're seeing a great turnaround. And that's all I need to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I also want to mention that it was a vote of 12-2-0. So I have Mr. James White, who is, it doesn't say if he's for or against, but please come up, state your name, and state your name. When you get up here, you have 3 minutes. Come on up, no, come to the podium. State your name and who you represent, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is James White, and I represent a member of the community. And I would like to start off by saying that that property is not compatible with what is currently in that Franklin Park community. The Franklin Park community is predominantly single homes. This property, in my opinion, and based upon the data that we have received, is really in violation of all the variances that currently exist within that property. It would create a significant hardship on me and my family and also my neighbors because they violated all of the variances. It's going to be taller than anything in the community. It's going to go out further in the alley than anything in the community because they need to build a 4-car garage, and traditionally in that area there have only been 2-car garages. It's going to be 3 feet away from my house. It creates a violation for me because from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor to the 1st floor, looking out my window, I can now see Franklin Park and I can see the next door neighbors, and what I will see after that is nothing but a wall. And so I feel that everything that that they have done, well, let me say it this way. We were told initially that we would get some opportunity to have some input into the homes that were going to be built next door to us. That home was a part of that original Smith family. It was a yard for their kids. It was not just an open, vacant lot. And we have never received the notification. At least I didn't receive any notification until one day I saw a lot of folks walking around the front of my house looking. I went to my next door neighbor. I said, "What's going on?" He said, "What has happened? They have approved a 2-family unit, a 2-family 4-car garage in an area that is traditionally a single-family unit." So in my view, everything has been violated. It's not, Franklin Park traditionally has been a very nice community, a very single-family community, and this is going to change. The exterior does not complement what's currently in the home. There was a home built on ladder about 7 or 8 years ago that was complementing the community, and if you look at that home today, you would not be able to tell that it hadn't been there. I've been in this property now for 35 years, and I just feel that this is not in line, it's not in alignment, it's not in any kind of way, shape, or form a view that is a part of the architecture within the community itself. See, I've had the other space violations. So privacy, notification, we just didn't have an opportunity to have any say-so. And I understand that all the plans have been completed for this particular building. So I am totally and completely against it. I have no problem with someone building a single-family unit there. It would be absolutely great. But a 2-family unit where a single-family unit traditionally has been. And in terms of them being in the neighborhood, in our neighborhood, we don't have 2-family units. Well, I think there may be 1 or 2 on the Franklin Park West, but they complement the community. So.
Thank you, Mr. White. The question I'll ask you is, were you aware of the Area Commission meeting where this was voted on?
I went to one Area Commission meeting, and at that time, I voted against it, but I think everything was already in place. The building, they had the design, they had everything. So in terms of notification, I have not received notification. Now, they may have mailed something out. I did not receive those.
But were you at a meeting where they voted on this? Were you at the meeting where this was voted on?
No.
But you did go, but there was.
I went to one meeting. I don't know if that was, I know the meeting that we went to, they brought it up, and I know we voted against it at that meeting. Now, I don't know if that's the meeting that you're referencing.
Well, so the reason I'm asking that
Yes.
question is because, and then we'll hear from the other speaker, is because the Area Commission voted, you know, I said 12-2 to 0.
Yeah, I was not at that meeting.
Okay.
I was not at that meeting.
Well, so, okay, all right, I'm going to let the, there's another speaker who wants to speak on this legislation, and then we'll have the applicant have an opportunity to come back and speak to this. And also, since she certainly is also the president of the Area Commission, she can also come back and speak to that, Ms. Kathleen Bailey.
Yeah, I've never met her.
Councilmember. asking clarification on his location.
Oh, I live at 131 Franklin Park West. I am south of that property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. White. And I have Mr. James Wiggers. Good evening. Please, when you get to the podium, state your name and if you're for or against this.
My name's Jim Wiggers. I live at 117 Franklin Park West, the house immediately to the north, which, again, I think Jim said really well. That vacant lot paints a picture, but it was part of the yard of my house. The lady that owned it sold it just before I purchased the house in 2003, so it's always been a green space for 100 and some odd years. My contention is, I think NEAC, we attended the meeting. We were late to the party to be notified when it was originally voted on. Our contention was to see this. We were very dissatisfied and contacted the city through the Franklin Park Commission. They were very, very helpful with how to approach this part of it. But I think my feeling is NEAC shouldn't have approved this. It should be a single-family home, and I can pass pictures. I like pictures. Really good architect, because I saw one of her properties on Bryden Road. If you look at the colored pictures of some of the houses in the area, and we're only talking about Franklin Park. We're not talking about the whole area. There are a lot of doubles. There are 2 doubles on the park, on the south side of the park. I think the building company that these gentlemen own have one that was torn down and probably want to build another one, which is fine because it was there. This is perfect for a single-family home, and if you look at the architectural style of the drawings in that packet, they break the integrity of the park. It is not the same situation to put that double that's higher, wider, big garage on the back of it. It's really designed, if you're going to build on it, to have a single-family home with a double garage on the back part of it, and I think it would look fabulous. There is one right around the corner on Auburn that does that. Franklin Park, you know, everybody refers to it as the historic Franklin Park, which is fabulous. I've had connections with that area since 1978, when my ex-wife got out of college and had a job in the neighborhood. It was fabulous, and that's why I ended up buying a house there a long time later. But you know, it just gives so much opportunity to maintain the look that Schiller Park has, Neal Avenue has. I agree with Ms. Bailey about bad zoning. We could walk down Oak Street together and look at some of the little cracker block houses that were built, how bad they are with bad zoning. And I think this is the same thing. I think it needs to be a single-family home, just beautiful design, using brick and mortar. There are probably 10 different styles available to the Old Town builders to put up something there that fits. And if you look at those pictures, the colored pictures that were taken, and look at the black and white drawings, it's just a monolith. We're putting up a big monolith with a rooftop bar on it, it looks like to me. So I'm done with 18 seconds left, and I just want to say thank you for everybody. It's been quite a process, and everybody at the city's been a big help, so to at least have my 3 minutes. Thanks.
Chairman has a question. Mr. Wiggers, I know Councilmember Favors has a question, but also, so were you aware of the Area Commission meeting?
I went to one of the commission meetings. We were notified very late that there was anything there. I went to one at police station thinking that was the first one. The site meeting had already taken place when we received some type of information to go, and then attended again in the evening when there was a vote when the first pieces were rolled out, and that's when we started our protest to say, we just found out about this. And really didn't know what questions to ask. I think we found out that afternoon that there was a meeting to vote and approve this building, and we had, you know, maybe 15 minutes to prepare. So there wasn't much to do except find the appropriate people through the city and say, we'd like to talk about this a little bit more than just passing this thing.
But I'm just trying to be clear. You were at the meeting that they voted on this?
Yes.
You were?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to speak?
We asked a few questions about the whole part of it, what was going to happen, what was going to do, and that was it. It was quick and over and done. It was very difficult circumstances to be put into when you're not really sure what's going on in the first place. I took some time off work to go to the first meeting that had already passed, and, you know, we made sure we made this second meeting to have that voice, but it was quick, and I'm not really sure.
So I'm going to be clear. So you said you went to the first meeting. What
There were
does that
two meetings.
mean?
There was a piece that we received to have a site meeting when the people from NEAC and the builders and the architects come to the actual site and look at it. We received that, and on that, it also had then the second meeting. But the site meeting had already taken place when we first, I'm trying to say how it had happened already. We were late receiving any kind of notification to go to the meeting where it was voted on and then approved.
Okay, just let me be clear. So you went to a site meeting?
No, we
you
missed
didn't
the
go
site
to a
meeting.
site.
We
You missed the
received
site
notification
meeting.
of the
You
site
didn't get.
meeting
You missed.
after.
Okay, and
Yep,
then you went
yep.
to the second
Yes,
meeting.
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. And that's when it was officially voted on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Favors has a question, Mr. Wiggers.
It's actually for either one of you. So is the concern the fact that it's a double or just the structure itself?
That it's a double.
Okay.
A double as it's built.
Well,
You know,
they have a couple doubles there that complement the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a double that is totally architecturally, the architectural design is totally different. The doubles that are currently there, I think one or two, if you drove by, you wouldn't even know that they were doubles.
They were built in 1914, I think, both the doubles on the south side of the park. And they look, it's Jim's point, even walking, you don't notice that they're doubles.
But this one stands out.
Stands out.
And it just violates all of the architectural design that's currently in the neighborhood. And they're saying that they're going to live in that property, but they have purchased 20 other properties in that area. They're not going to live in all 20 of those properties. So they may move in. I have no idea how long they might move in, but it seems like in every one of those properties, they're building these kinds of structures. And that's on other areas, not on Franklin Park.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Bailey, could you, as the representative of the Air Commission, could you please come up and share your comments based upon the comments that we've heard? And then we'll hear from the applicant.
I don't want anybody to disparage our process. First of all, we are given labels when we receive the application. We use those labels to send out the notice. It goes to the property owner, not somebody just living there, and a lot of times they come back. We have no singular way to notify everybody in the neighborhood. What we try to do is maintain e-list, and I send, that is in District 4, which is the district I represent, I send my information to the Franklin Park Civic Association. Now, I send to the president and I send to the Civic Association. We do everything we can to get people out there to notice, and then most people complain that 125 feet is not enough. And I said that is a city standard. That's not our standard. I don't know what to tell you, but all I know is we looked at it from terms of the quality of the development. One of the comments made was, you might rent it to somebody. And this is one of the things that's rather disturbing, and I'm hearing this from developers too, that people are now more concerned with who might be living there as opposed to the project itself. I can tell you, I mean, if you've lived next door to an empty lot for years, of course, once somebody puts a building there, you're not going to be able to see the way you were. We've run into that too. People have gotten used to vacant parcels, and they can see, and they feel like the open air, and then somebody comes and puts a building next to it, and it disrupts their, quote, quality of life. But we in no way tried to withhold any information or not let people know about it. But I tell people all the time, when you're living in a neighborhood that is in constant change the way ours is, not only is it our responsibility to get the word out, it's your responsibility to make yourself available to receive that information. I tell everybody, make sure you're on someone's e-list. Make sure you're talking to people, because it's, with the world we're living in with cell phone, excuse me, I'm talking about showing my age, whatever you call them today, there's no reason for people not to be connected. And if you're not connected, there's nothing we can do about it. But we do use the labels that the city sends us in those applications, and we use a lot of e-lists. And that's all I can tell you. But I certainly wouldn't want to hold, and if people, it's a three-part process. We have the first is our zoning meeting. That's when we review the application and make sure we understand what the client is asking, and that we have everything we need. Then we have our site hearing. That's when we invite people to come out, and that's when the zoning committee makes a recommendation. And then we have our final meeting, the general meeting, similar to what you're doing here tonight, where we make the recommendation, where we take the vote by the full body. But for somebody to say, well, that they already made up their mind, that is incorrect. Because, you know, it's like a good lawyer. You can come up here and make a good argument. That's on you. But we do allow people to speak. I don't know what else we can do. We've got a three-part process. If you missed all three parts, I don't know what to say. But I do encourage people, please be part of somebody. If you're not in a part of a civic association, get your name on somebody's e-list, because the days are gone where people are going to put walk out and put things on people's front porch. I can't do it anymore. I tried it once and it almost killed me. I don't have the physical stamina to do it anymore. So we do go out of our way to try to reach as many people as possible. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bailey. And now we will hear a rebuttal from Mr. Gleason and
Mr. Palmer. Thank you.
Right.
Sorry, I had knee surgery on Tuesday, so I'm not walking very well. But I will, first I want to say the Near East Area Commission has no apologies to give. They have a great process in place. We had at least 3 meetings with them. I hear oftentimes people say we didn't get notice, which caused me to, okay, look. And I looked at the labels that we provided the Near East Area Commission, that we provided the city, and in fact, if you go to your agenda tonight, when you look at your labels, we have James A. White, or current occupant, 131 West Franklin Park. We have James A. Wiggers, or current occupant, 117 West Franklin Park. They received notice immediately. If they didn't, and I think both of them have admitted they showed up at at least one of the meetings. We had at least 3. We had a site meeting, and I know Mr. Palmer here is wearing black tennis shoes today, but he had a lot of jokes that day because we showed up at the site meeting. There were at least 12, 13 people there, and he was wearing white tennis shoes. So that's why that's why I remember it. So for them to say they didn't get notice is just not correct. The other thing I think that is important is they mentioned that we are violating all these variances. If you look at the agenda and you look at our application, we're asking for 1 variance. We don't need a height variance because we are within the height standards of the area. We don't need a setback variance because we're within that variance. The only variance we need is a 2-unit variance. So we're not asking for anything that is uncommon. However, I mean, I think both of them indicated they live in a house that looks over what may have been a park for years. All I know, it's been a vacant lot for 20 years maybe. And yes, anytime you want to turn a vacant lot, or you know, the cornfield in your backyard into something else, you have a negative impact for that. But again, I think as both the Near East Area Commission determined, as city staff has determined, this is turning a vacant lot into a unit or 2 units that complement the area. There's a apartment complex 250 feet away. So to say that this is going to change the character of the area is just not accurate. Also, not that it really matters, but I believe Mr. Wiggers' property is for sale. And again, I believe, you know, Mr. Palmer is turning a vacant lot that, again, nobody has been able to develop because economics does, you know, impact development to 2 units that is, as city staff has held, is compatible with the area. We would ask that the variance be approved.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Are there any questions for Mr. Palmer or Mr. Gleason? No, thank you. All right. So again, I certainly appreciate Mr. White as well as Mr. Wiggers coming to council and certainly sharing their concerns with this body. And again, we have a city department who was recommending that this 2-unit be in this space. The Near East Area Commission's recommendation is 12-2-0. And again, the Area Commission is a representative body of a community. And they've looked at this, they voted on this, and based upon them voting on this and the staff giving approval on this, I'm going to move for passage of this legislation.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 42-2019 to grant a variance to the provisions of sections 3332.037 R2F Residential District, 3312.21 AD Landscaping and Screening, 3312.49 C minimum numbers of parking spaces required, 3332.21D building lines, 3332.25 maximum side yards required, and 3332.29 height district of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 932 East Gay Street to permit a 25-unit apartment building with reduced development standards in the R2F residential district. The applicant is the Urban Land Company, Ltd. Proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Near East Area Commission's recommendation is 7, 6, and 2. So I will first ask for a staff presentation. Ms. Pine.
PowerPoint is coming. All right. The site consists of 4 parcels, 3 of which are undeveloped and 1 is developed with a single-unit dwelling, and they're all zoned in the R2F residential district. The requested council variance will permit the development of a 25-unit apartment building. In addition to the use variances to parking lot landscaping and screening, number of required parking spaces, building setback, maximum side yard, and building height are included in this request. The site is within the boundaries of the Near East Area Plan, which does not contain a land use recommendation for this location, but recommends that new housing be consistent with the housing types and densities in the surrounding area and compatible in terms of massing, scale, and building height. The building elevations reviewed by the Planning Division and the massing are consistent with the plan recommendations, and the density of the proposal is generally consistent with nearby densities to the north along East Long Street and to the east along North 17th Street. Therefore, staff's recommendation is for approval, and I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine, for your presentation. I'm now going to ask for a presentation from the applicant.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for your...
Gardner, are you Mr. Gardner?
I'm Chase Miller. I'm the applicant. Mr. Gardner's my civil engineer. He's here with me.
So you're going to have Chase, he's going to speak first and then... Chase is going to speak. Okay, I'm sorry. Chase, state your name again?
Yes, Chase Miller. I'm managing partner of the Urban Land Company.
Okay.
Thanks for your time. I apologize for my appearance. I've damaged my knee, but I'm glad to be able to stand here before you tonight and talk about this project. I will be brief. I want to just talk a little bit about the background of the project, and then I'll talk about a few important points, and then I'll wrap up. We're a small business. Urban Land Company is a small business. We started 2 years ago here in Columbus, and we're focused on...
Could you put the mic closer to you, because you're just speaking, I don't hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, is that
Perfect.
better? There we go.
That's better. Thank
All
you.
right. We're a small business. We were founded in Columbus 2 years ago with a focus on high-quality boutique housing projects in urban neighborhoods. We're a young company. This project is really important to us. The success of this project is important to our company and all the people that work for us. And because of that, we've tried to put our heart and soul into it and make sure that it's the best project that we could possibly bring forward. We want to be known for bringing innovative housing solutions to our urban neighborhoods in Columbus. To introduce the project is 25 units, as we've talked about. They're smaller units. I think that's an important thing to understand about this. It's a standard urban site plan where there's a building in the front and the parking is screened to the rear of the site. It's a rather narrow and deep lot. The project has a strong focus on high-quality architecture. We've tried our best to do the best that we can from a design perspective to bring a really high-quality project forward. The process that we've been through so far, we've been through the Near East Area Commission. We've worked with our neighbors. I've met with the neighbors and had a really good dialogue. I think it's been productive so far. We've been able to, even since the Near East Area Commission, we've been able to make 2 changes to the project. We've redesigned the parking lot at the request of the neighbors. I've got that with me if you'd like to see that. And we also have proposed a good neighbor agreement that I believe we're going to be all agreeing to, which I think is really good for everybody. We've had several discussions about density. I think you'll hear about density on this project tonight. The density is 25 units. And I think it's really important to understand why we propose that density. Density is something that's really important to me. It's something that can be either high quality or low quality, and this is something that I take really personally. I'm a frequent lecturer at Ohio State, and I teach on this topic, and smart growth in our cities is something that we need. It's really important, and there's a lot of benefits to doing it. The reasons that I think that supporting healthy density in our urban neighborhoods are beneficial in this case is that getting some density in this neighborhood will help foster retail and commercial businesses on Long Street, which is envisioned in the neighborhood plan. And it's going to offer a type of housing that we think is lacking. We're trying to provide a housing type where young people might move into the neighborhood and eventually move up. So it's important that our urban neighborhoods are inclusive and have multiple types of housing available. And density can be a solution to affordability. Now, I want to be clear, this is not a low-income project. Those are important and need to happen. This is a market rate project. But let's not miss the fact that we have a housing affordability crisis going on right now. Housing is really expensive for everybody at all levels of the market, and we need creative solutions that bring quality product into our neighborhoods that people can afford on a living wage. So this project is an answer to that. Let's talk about just how dense it is. These are smaller units. I mentioned that. They're half studio units, half one-bedroom units. They're not micro units. They're studios. They're full-size kitchens and bathrooms. There's laundry in every single apartment. So they're full-service units, but they are smaller units. If I were to do this in normal normal-size units, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, it'd probably be about 12 units, and there'd actually be more bedrooms, so more people living on site. We've also been able to accommodate more than one-to-one parking, so we've got more than one spot for every unit. Every unit only has 1 bedroom in it, so that's kind of higher than most of what's in the surrounding area. The density, in terms of density, this easily could be a lot more dense. This is a pretty standard 3-story building. It's the width of the site. That's a normal approach to planning these sites when we talk about it from a planning perspective. So I'll wrap up just by saying we ask for your support tonight on this project. It's very important to our company, and we want you to support it because it's supporting good design, it's supporting innovative solutions to our housing affordability crisis, it's supporting smart growth and inclusive neighborhoods in Columbus. So please support our project, and thank you for your time.
Chase, I'm sorry, Chase, what's your last name again?
Miller.
Miller. And so I know you keep mentioning the affordable housing crisis. I guess affordable is based upon what that looks like. When we talk about affordable, you're really talking about market rate, and that's not going to change the project, but it's market rate. Because you're saying this is anywhere from $900 to $1,000, is that correct?
Yeah, $900 to $1,300.
To $1,300, and the units are 500, are they 550?
Yeah, the studio units are about $350, and the 1 bedrooms are about $600.
So 350 and 600 feet, square feet. Okay. All right. And, okay. I don't have any other questions for you right now.
Thank
I
you.
think we'll get ready to, we'll first hear from, any questions for Mr. Miller at this point? No. Okay, we will now hear from Ms. Kathleen Bailey. She is for the project.
Thank you. To piggyback on what Mr. Miller was talking about, the D word is the one coming up now, density. When I went to the mayor's convention conference, I think it was sometime last year, they've actually coined the phrase densification. Normally, in an inner city, when you think of density, it has a negative connotation. You think of people, too many people living in a short space, the property is not well taken care of, and I think this is sometimes the image that people have when they think about these projects coming to their neighborhood. But actually, the Near East Side has a shortage of these. We need to have more of this kind of buildings, because one of the things that we try to enforce about our neighborhoods that you can live in a small place, you can live in a mansion if you want to, because we have a variety of different types of housing sizes. This is a perpendicular neighborhood, i.e. we don't have cul-de-sacs, we don't have private drives. It's an open area, and the history of the area, you've got small houses and apartments and large houses next to each other. So this is not something new that he's bringing to the neighborhood. Now, they say they wanted to say, the opponent said they wanted a single-family house there. I will read what C2P2 has to say about that. The appropriateness of infill development should be measured in terms of height, width, setbacks, and lot coverage. Projects that are proposed at a density higher than the recommended land use may be supported if they include a high level of site and architectural design, which we see both here. We see a very good design coming to the neighborhood. In fact, most people commented that the design was nice. They said it was just too dense for the area. But not only do we need these types we again are looking at young people. We're looking at folks who are retiring. We're looking at folks coming in from the East Coast and West Coast, and they're used to living in places like this. And we think it is a positive. It's not only going to feed Long Street, it's also going to feed the Broad and Parsons commercial strip. So it's a perfect good feeder for both those areas. I really think sometimes people just get the idea it's going to bring down their property values. One of the words that were in the email that I received was, these are for transients. And that to me has a negative connotation, where I'm looking at a professional, just like our president there. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for people like that to infuse life into our neighborhood. And I'll be honest with you, big houses with 2 or 3 people living in them do not support commercial. I live by myself in a house. I can't, as much as I try to support the neighborhood, I can't keep them in business. If they depended on me, they'd be closed up tomorrow. So we've got to have density for this, and it's good density. Again, I don't see it taking down anybody's property values, and that was a main concern. And again, I stuck my neck out for this, and but believe me, I have to go back and live in this neighborhood. So you know I must believe in it, because I know I'm going to have to pay for what I just said. But it's a good project. Again, densification, good densification is going to help us develop the commercial piece. And it's an open neighborhood. It always has been. Again, we don't have private drives. People say, I don't want all these cars going down my street. It's an open neighborhood.
All right, Ms. Bailey. Thank you very much. Let's hear from our other speakers. The first speaker is Mr. Edward Tatum. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Bailey.
Chair Bailey. Chair Bailey.
Ms. Bailey, can you come back up to the podium?
I have a quick question. This vote is kind of close, 7-6-2. So you mentioned density, and what were some of the other concerns of the commissioners?
That they didn't want to upset the neighbors.
They didn't want to upset neighbors?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Favor. So the first speaker is Mr. Edward Tatum. please come to the podium, state your name and who you represent. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Ed Tatum, and really appreciate being here. President Hardin, thank you. Councilmember Tyson, thank you, and all the rest of the commission. I'm Ed Tatum, 75 Miami. Just real quickly, there's other folks in the room. I'd like you to stand up. These are my neighbors, and we have similar concerns. We certainly appreciate the responsiveness of the city staff, as well as the efforts of you and your office. You guys have been great to us. Nicole Harper really took us through. Ms. Klein, I'm so delighted to meet you. Thank you for all your help. We understand that the council does rely upon input from both the city staff as well as the NEAC, and we respect that. Tonight we're going to talk about 2 exceptions that we are taking with both of those recommendations. That's the ordinance before you. And in both we have supplemented the record. We are talking about density for the area, and as well as the NEAC recommendations. With regards to density, the NEAC plan, people keep on telling me, man, that's old. Well, it still was written by some pretty sharp folks and had some good things in there. And one of the things it said is that we would like to have dense development, and we need it. And actually our group supports that. But it also said that there's no specific land use for our area or plan, but it does say the density needs to be in the commercial districts. So we kind of just built on that, and we have actually supplemented the record to show the areas of the plan where that is indeed stated. Number 2, the NEAC recommendation. Understand that council benefits from the record of the commission vote that it was 7-6. I appreciated your question on that. There was a lot of discussion, and we have supplemented the record with that regard as well as to our concerns, which is indeed density. We understand that we live in an urban area. I come from an urban area. I was born in Washington, D.C. We get it. But we are concerned about the level of density here, not only with this project, but also, too, with regards to all the other projects that are going on. So we see this as something that we need to talk about. So our experience with the process and our expectation of the neighbors was, through that process, that there would be a serious and sincere consideration of reducing density for this development. And so far, that has not taken place. We're not saying you don't need it. It's a nice design, and we think we do need it in the northeast area, but I think we need it in the commercial district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. We'll hear from the other speaker. Any questions for Mr. Tatum? Okay. Thank you. The next speaker is Eric Hutchinson. Hutchinson. Good evening, and state your name and who you represent. Thank you.
Eric Hutchison, 92 Miami, represent the neighbors of Miami. Thank you for this opportunity, President Hardin, Councilwoman Tyson, and the rest of the council members. I do want to say that we are not opposed to development. We're not opposed to more dense development. We obviously support affordable housing, like many of you. Not just affordable for new residents, but for the long-term residents that live in our neighborhood as well. We believe we do already have a diverse neighborhood that the city wants throughout the city, or that the council wants throughout the city. We believe we already have that. I moved to Miami Avenue because of the plan, the 2005 Near East Plan, and the development and diversity that plan supported. This development is beautiful architecturally. However, the development has density that is consistent with Broad and Long Streets, the commercial districts, according to the plan. The one thing that all of us neighbors agreed on at the site meeting and other meetings was that this development was too dense. That's the one thing we all agreed on. As a result of this, we in the neighborhood have developed a vision and mission statement, and we would love to participate in new developments in our area going forward, and understand that there would also be updates to the 2005 plan and would love to participate in that. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. So I know that when we spoke, I did state that Directors both Messer and Director Shonier are in chambers and they're listening to the presentations this evening. And certainly we talked about, when I spoke with you, we talked about the date of the plan and that the goal would be when, if they were to have if they have a new plan, that absolutely that you and all the community residents would be a part of that if they were putting another plan together. And I think that Director Shoney or Director Messer, if you really want to speak to the issue of, when I spoke, the issue of our plans, and that certainly I mentioned that when these plans were written, that we were not necessarily thinking about the growth of our city between 500,000 people to 1 million people by 2050, that we're looking at more density in our communities. And so I was, would appreciate either, I don't know which one, if Messer or Shoney wants to really speak to this issue in our communities, and that people believe that when we have these plans that that's absolutely what's always going to happen. And I think that we at the city need to make sure that working with our area commissions, et cetera, about their area plans and what that means today. Director Shoney is going to speak to that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is an issue that comes up frequently. I know that Councilmember Elizabeth Brown has discussed this with me as well in the past about what is a plan and what does it really mean and the misperceptions of that. And I think with C2P2 that I was very pleased to hear Chair Bailey reference, we have tried to do a better job of making it clear that plans are a snapshot in time of what the thought is at that point in time in terms of the best of planning, and that evolves. And I think the Near East side, and as well as a lot of our neighborhoods, are kind of living laboratories of how thought around urban design is evolving. And we are seeing mixes of use and mixes of density being dealt with in very different ways. So one of our challenges is we are a city of 225 square miles. We have a very small, very lean planning staff that can do neighborhood plans, so it takes us a while to get to updating them, and it is a challenge. So I understand from the neighbors how there can be frustration with the age of plans and how we're trying to move forward. That's part of what C2P2 has been an evolution of. So I hope that answers your question. And happy to take any follow-ups.
I think that you shared what your answer was appropriate, and then I think also this plan calls for housing diversity, where there be mansions on a block, where there are going to be bungalows, row houses, small apartment buildings, and so everyone wants to live closer to downtown. And again, the density is an issue. I did have, well, I'll just let you, I'll just end it at that, because I'll let the speaker come back up and then we can have the rest of this conversation. But thank you for answering that question. And again, Mr. Hutchinson, thank you so much for sharing your comments. Thank you. And the next speaker is Robert Rice. Good evening, Mr. Rice.
Good evening, council members. My name is Bob Rice, and I live at 81 Miami Avenue. The proposed 25-unit project is directly behind my home across 18th Alley. When I purchased my home in 2006, the houses on either side of mine were abandoned or unoccupied. In 2006, the scars in my neighborhood were evident. In the 1960s and 70s, houses were torn on Miami 20th, and 21st were replaced with brick box apartment complexes. Not only were the scars architectural, but they were also altered the pattern of neighborhood culture. Renters in these units are anonymous to the rest of the neighborhood. There is no front or backyard to be seen in. There is no front porch to invite conversation with neighbors. I will assume that some of the goals in the Near East Side and King Lincoln plans was to impede the cultural destruction of the Near East Side residential corridors by multi-unit apartments. But neighborhood culture is real in the Near East Side. In 2012, when CPO purchased 940 and 950 East Broad and proposed a surface parking lot, residents of Miami, Gay, 17th, and 20th requested a meeting with CPO. The results of these meetings were a greatly improved landscape at the perimeter of the parking lot and a good neighbor agreement that had served CPO and the neighborhood well. In 2015, when neighbors were bedeviled by crime, loitering, littering, public intoxication, and urination due to 8 carry-out businesses, the residents band together to effect change in the situation. And I will just say today, out of the 8 original carry-outs selling alcohol, only 2 are still in business, and only 1 is able to sell alcohol. As neighbors, we have shared the aches and pains and delights living in this thriving area. This brings me to the consequences of approving the Urban Land Company project at 932, 934 Gay Street. The neighborhood cohesion has been already compromised by the 12-unit at 916, built 30 years ago, and CPO's training building on the south side of Gay. If this project is approved, if I can actually get the last page, and built, what will happen to the home on 924 and the lot of 922 Gay Street? Surely no investment group will purchase either of these properties to build single-family or multifamily units. These parcels now become prime real estate for apartment development. So I implore you not to approve 932 Gay Street project. Keep Gay Street between 17th and Miami Avenues a residential side street. Place high-density units where they belong on the commercial corridors in the King Lincoln District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any questions for Mr. Rice? All right. I don't know if Ms. Bailey, if you have any other comments. If not, I'm going to have the applicant respond. Do you have any other comments you want to make to regarding this?
We were also involved in the decisions about the CPO properties and the parking lot, et cetera, and there was the same question about property values and trash and whatever, and none of that came to fruition. CPO has been an excellent neighbor. They were very upset about the parking lot that's being in the rear. It's clean, and I take my job seriously. And as I told other people, for about 2 weeks, I walked my dog, and we went over there every night at different times. I went sometimes at 7, I went sometimes at 10, I went sometimes at midnight. I went over there the Friday after Thanksgiving, around 1 o'clock when everybody was on vacation. I didn't see a soul. I didn't hear a pin drop. I didn't see any kids running around. I didn't see any trash. So I take it seriously because I don't want anything, I take people's concerns seriously. I don't want anything to build anything that I wouldn't be happy with or I wouldn't be satisfied with, but I just did not see these concerns. I didn't see the traffic, I didn't see the trash, I didn't see people out making a lot of noise. I just didn't see it. And again, I made a point to walk over there different times of day, different days of the week to see exactly what was going on. And I just didn't see any of that. And you have the Scholar House on 17th, block over. I didn't see anybody. And if any time kids should be home, it would be the day after Thanksgiving. I just didn't see it. And that's the only thing I can tell you.
Thank you, Chair Bailey. Mr. Miller, based on the comments that you've heard from Do you have any additional comments that you want to make in regards to this development?
Yeah, I do. I'll just be very brief. I appreciate the dialogue with Mr. Rice and Mr. Tatum. I've talked with both of them and respect their opinions on this. I don't believe I've met Mr. Hutchinson until tonight, but I'm glad that all opinions were able to be heard. I heard three main themes. The first was density. I've talked about density. This is smart growth, smart density. The second was consistency with the neighborhood plan. In regards to that, I think the easiest way to resolve that is to read planning staff's recommendation. It's, I believe, in your package, but it concludes that this is consistent with the boundaries of the Near East area plan. So I think that can put that issue to bed. And the other one was consistency with the neighborhood. And our belief is that our neighborhood should be high quality, should have high quality architecture and should be inclusive, and that's what this project attempts to do. So we hope that you'll support it.
And Mr. Miller, have you, in terms of the Good Neighbor Agreement, are you working with Chair Bailey, or are you working with the residents on Miami?
Working with the residents on Miami.
Okay. And Chair Bailey, you are in support of that? Okay. And so you've been having a number of conversations, and you're coming to have you come to some agreements?
I believe that we're close. We've shared an agreement, and I spoke to Mr. Tatum earlier today, and he said that he would talk to me about it this evening.
Okay. Were there any issues from that conversation that you were not in support of that they presented to you?
With the Good Neighbor Agreement, no, we have not heard any comments back to our agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for our?
I do.
Oh, excuse me,
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Miller,
sir.
can you come back to the podium, please?
You mentioned the project being inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just elaborate a little bit more? Because I think you noted that the average square foot would be around $350 for the units and priced around $900 to $1,000?
Yeah, so
13,
half the project is studio units. They're about 350 square feet. The other half, it's actually 12 and 13. The 13 half is one bedroom units. Those are around 600 square feet. But the idea with housing that's inclusive is that our neighborhood shouldn't just be large single family homes, that we need multiple types of housing in our neighborhoods. We need opportunities for people to move into the neighborhood that may eventually stay and move up into other housing in the neighborhood. So the idea of inclusivity is about having multiple options of housing within our neighborhoods.
I'm sorry, and why that location for this project?
That location is very close to Long Street, and I will point out that the rest of the block, so on one side of our parcel are our neighbors on Miami. We back up to their garages, so that's Mr. Rice and Mr. Tatum. On the other side is almost all multifamily. So this is where the Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority has built Scholar House, if you're familiar with Scholar House, which is housing for Columbus State students. And then there's another older multifamily building that's on it, and then one single family home, and then our parcel. So it's very consistent with what's happened on the block.
Are there any other questions from my council members? All right, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Miller. I certainly appreciate the dialogue that the residents of Miami have had with the developer. I also had the opportunity to speak with the residents of Miami in regards to the Good Neighbor Agreement. That's why I was asking them, were you guys in agreement with that Good Neighbor Agreement? And I also, even in the meeting that I had with the residents of Miami, just shared with them about the importance now of becoming pretty much more active with the area commission, so that I think that would be very important as they're moving forward. And so even though this has been, the vote was 7-6 to 2, in terms of it is an approval from the area commission. And unless my colleagues have any other opinions about it, I am going to ask for my colleagues, since it was a vote of 7-6 and 2, and based on those discussions, I would, you have a comment, Councilman Brown?
Councilman Tyson, I would like to ask Director Shoney one more additional question.
That's fine.
And Steve, this issue of density, would you elaborate in more detail what your perspective is with regards to reduced density or adequate density within this particular project? I want to be perfectly clear. I have known Ms. Bailey for a very long time, and we haven't always agreed on things, but well, I certainly have a high regard and respect for her position on something when you start to talk about density and the neighborhood. There isn't anyone who knows their neighborhood better than she does. And I hold that, again, in high regard. But I'd like for you to speak to that issue about density, please.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. So if you've got something at 9:30, you might want to go ahead and leave, because I could talk about density for about that long. I won't, but it really is something that, in context like this, it is important for everyone to sit down and have, as I think one of the speakers said, kind of an open and meaningful conversation about it, because it does impact everyone in the neighborhood. In the context of this development, I think what the developer has proposed is appropriate. You have some other buildings that fit a similar context. When you talk about the Scholar House developments, you're close to Long Street. This is not, we're not talking about a 10-story building in the middle of a neighborhood like we've seen proposed in some other neighborhoods a block off of the main commercial corridor. This is consistent with what's around it. I think they've proposed an appropriate amount of parking for the development, and in some ways I think they have, I would say, plenty of parking for a project of this nature in this environment. But it is always a conversation that you need to have a conversation about it and really understand it. I think in this case, my personal analysis is that they've found an appropriate mix. I don't think the entire neighborhood, every development in the neighborhood should fit this model, but I think in this location, I think it's appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. And I also want to just appreciate that the work that the staff has put into this particular project and working with the developer and the community, and that staff know that the proposal was for small units, and the units were parked at an appropriate urban ratio of the per parking space. But also in January of 2019, the planning staff moved to a full support after reviewing the requested information and determining that the proposal was consistent with the recommendations of the Near East Side Plan, noting in particular that the proposal included a building with a high level of design. So if there are no other questions or comments, I would, and again, I appreciate the involvement of the residents of Miami, but based upon also just the approval of the area commission, the work of the staff, I'm going to ask my colleagues to support this, this recommendation and move for passage.
Brown, Dorns, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you. That's all I have in zoning this evening.
Thank you, Chair. Seeing no further business coming for the zoning committee, may I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorns, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. Meeting number 19 will resume momentarily. Regular meeting number 19 will now come to order. May I get a motion to reconvene? Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorns, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
The meeting is reconvened. The next committee to come before council is the Economic Development Committee. The committee is chaired by Councilman Remy. Councilman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. Tonight, I would like to invite Tim Sword to the podium as I introduce ordinance number 827, 2019, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a contract with Columbus Sister Cities International, Inc. for the purpose of promoting business, government, cultural, educational, and environmental exchanges between the Columbus Sister Cities, and to authorize the appropriation and expenditure with the Neighborhood Initiative Subfund, and to authorize the expenditure of $140,000 from the 2019 General Fund budget, and to declare an emergency. This legislation authorizes the expenditure of $140,000 to engage the professional services of Columbus Sister Cities International, Inc. to administer the Columbus Sister Cities International program for the purpose of promoting business, government, cultural, educational, and environmental exchanges between the Columbus sister cities, as well as long-term economic development. The 10 sister cities are Accra, Ghana. I've been practicing. Ahmedabad, India. Curitiba, Brazil. Dresden, Germany. Genoa, Italy. Hefei, China. Herzliya, Israel. Odense, Denmark. Seville, Spain. And Tainan, Taiwan. City funding has been provided in previous years to support staffing and administrative costs of CSCI. CSCI has worked diligently to raise capital for its overall operation. Additional support is required to maintain a full-time executive director and to defray miscellaneous administrative costs. Tim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilmember. Greater Columbus Sister Cities is a partnership which City Hall is very much involved with, the Mayor's Office, as well as Franklin County and the corporate community and individuals. And I do appreciate the leadership that's in this room right now, particularly Councilmember Tyson and Councilmember Hardin, who have led trips and missions recently in the last couple of years so that we can create new opportunities for citizen diplomacy exchange between our sister cities. You know, Sister Cities was created in 1955 by President Eisenhower, kind of in response to World War II and the Korean conflict, because if we're going to live in a world of peace, people have to interact. And he even said, even if people have to jump over their government, they need to connect. We need to understand that we're people. And I recently had an opportunity, not through Sister Cities, but through another local organization called the Columbus International Visitor Council, to travel to Pakistan. And though I've traveled to over 40 countries, including some controversial spots, at least for people that love me, I never got resistance like I got for traveling to Pakistan, even though it was a State Department-funded project. It was 2 weeks in Pakistan, one in Islamabad 1 week and one in Karachi. But the reason I'm telling you this, because it's not related to sister cities, is because there is a fear of engagement with Pakistan because of the news. And there are concerns for sure, we know that. But there are also people there running art institutes, schools, government the best that they can. We went to an autism school and we watched them teach their students how to do actual things to make money, like vocational agriculture or vocational education. You forget that, even though I've traveled to other countries and remember, oh, Colombia is not as scary as the news pretends. I mean, there's concerns, but there's also a lot of people there trying to live and improve their lives. And the same was true in Pakistan. And they're hungry for connection. We also create these little islands in our own country of isolation from engagement, and that's a real danger. And we know that because of some of the issues in the news recently that have been going on for years and probably has always been part of our country and always will, but it's when we don't interact culturally. Sister Cities provides that opportunity personally, but also for economic development issues. You can't expect Steve Shoney or Director Shoney and his team and Columbus 2020 and Jobs Ohio to create new opportunities with international companies if we don't have citizens, business people, schools that have that experience. That is part of the formula to being successful. If you recently read Ted Decker from the Columbus Dispatch commentary, it was last week, he said, students travel the world and parents go to the poorhouse. Now, when I first read it, I thought, that's against us. Except it's not. It's actually for us the more I thought about it, because that's why we're in this space. We're asking the city and the county, individuals and corporations to contribute to this, because it is a hardship for individuals to send students. Earlier, like 3 hours ago, there was high school basketball students here. The reason I traveled internationally is because I won, or I didn't win, I was 6th in the state my freshman year in cross country. We should be giving those girls an opportunity to play basketball in another country. It's kind of popular in China, Italy. We could exchange and have those exchanges. That's an honor. Their greatest accomplishment should not be these championships. This should be a launch pad to more things, and that's what we should be looking at. So when we think about citizen diplomacy, we're thinking about who in our community should represent us overseas, who in our community should welcome people from international places or of different cultures. And we all have the opportunity to do it. But this organization is developing itself on the idea that the more people in the world that know about Columbus, the better off our city is. So everything we do is under the idea that we're trying to engage people to people through citizen diplomacy. So this funding is going towards some great projects, including a student exchange with Dresden, which is a partnership with the mayor's office. Councilmember Remy is behind this, as well as Columbus State and Sister Cities and the Dresden Sister City program. So we've all agreed that we would work to raise funds to create this opportunity. This project started because the mayor of Dresden, to fight a rising fascism because of some immigration that's hit his city and the reaction to that, sent students here last year to engage in diversity and also education. And Councilmember Tyson will remember meeting them and saying, they all look exactly alike, white men. But their engagement here was not that, and it was purposeful, and it was even designed that way from the beginning because they need to be exposed. And the mayor of Dresden was thoughtful enough to even say, I'm not just paying for hotel rooms for our German kids, I'm paying for hotel rooms for American kids that'll stay there because the actual bonds of connection don't happen in the classroom and on tours only, it's after hours. It's sitting around eating meals and doing that. And 3 of our students took advantage of that, which was fantastic. And those 3 are going to be 3 of the 10 that we're going to send over there this fall. So I wanted to highlight that. Obviously, anyone that's been paying attention in Columbus and knows about Sister Cities knows that we're doing some great stuff with Genoa, Italy. And I have to credit Councilmember Tyson, who in 2015 traveled with me, and when she agreed to lead this trade mission, or this delegation of young professionals to mark the 60th anniversary, said, Tim, I'll go, I'm going to pay my own way, and there's going to be 3 exchanges that happens afterwards. This is before we went. She's the only person that's ever said that to me in 18 years working for the state government, that went on a trip that I might have organized, or Sister Cities, and then came back and said, we're doing this. And sometimes was cracking the whip on me, and other times engaging the community in really exciting ways. The success we've had is we had a pesto championship 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, with the Columbus Italian Festival, 10 local competitors, 3 who, by the way, are on the committee now of Genoa. That's a volunteer community committee, which is something we want very much in all our cities, to engage the community. We sent the winner over to Genoa to compete. Councilmember Tyson, along with Samin Dadfar, our program manager, traveled to support that and also to continue the discussion about future engagements. Last year, in April, we had Timothy Costa here from Italy. He was the photographer of 1,000 Faces. We exhibited that in 5 locations, and he took 1,400 portraits of Columbus folks that's going to be displayed in Genoa later this year. And we're organizing a trip to go see that. And then finally, this is an arts coup. The Paganini violin, the Il Canone, known for its sound, is one of the most, if not the most famous instrument in the whole world, musical instrument. And Paganini, the violinist at the time, was known as the devil's violinist because he played so radically that people were convinced that he had made a pact with the devil, which sounds like a Charlie Daniels song now. So Paganini's violin was willed to the city of Genoa, and it really is not supposed to leave the city, and it rarely does. It's rarely played, though it has to be played to stay in form occasionally. It's only been to the United States 3 other times, twice in New York City and once in San Francisco. And in 1 month from today, it'll be played at the Ohio Theater by our own concertmaster, Joanna Frackel, from the Columbus Symphony Orchestra, for a one-time performance, and we want everyone to be there. This is a cultural exchange that's, my organization, I don't think, has been involved in something like this before. And I do have to thank Priscilla so much, but we didn't even know that going over. And that's the key. Sometimes you have to do your research and do the best you can, but while you're there, you have to pay attention, listen, and then come back and follow up. Many of you might remember Bill Connor, he was in that first meeting. And I remember his reaction when Priscilla called us all in the arts community. He said, we can do this. With no, not even a, and I'm like, oh, because I thought that was a no. 25 minutes, well, I shouldn't get into all the details, but it was a big exchange. So this money is going for the student exchange, the violin, the continuation of the programming that we do, which includes the marathon exchange to Dresden Sister Cities, Curitiba, Hefei. We're looking to organize in the future a trip that Commissioner Brown with Franklin County wants to lead to Israel. And I know I need to wrap this up, but I just want to thank you guys for your support and look for the opportunity to work with all of you. Some of you are new and would love for you to find a city to champion. We have 10 and 2, 4. I think we have enough for all of you.
Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you. I'll just be brief. Thanks, Tim, for being here. I am excited that we will have a visit, a delegation from Genoa will be here. The mayor will be here. The delegation will be here from the 11th to the 19th. The museum will be on display at the museum. Of course, it's going to be played on the 15th. We will have an opening performance by the Urban Strings. They will play before we play the violin. And mentioning also the other work, while they're here, they will be having the delegation will visit with Ohio State, Columbus 2020, the partnership. I mean, we are really looking at this being a significant delegation to do work for us to continue the partnership, having a, hopefully working with GCAC to have a artist in residence program. So there's a lot that will come from this initial trip 4 years ago to where we are today. And so I want to say to you, Tim, and to Samin and to your team, thank you very much for your work on this, and I look forward to the delegation coming here and certainly having an opportunity to meet with our colleagues on this side and again, to continue the work that we're doing with such an amazing city within the world, and so our largest sister city and our oldest relationship. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Tim, thank you very much. We appreciate all that you do for sister cities. I know your passion runs deep, and we certainly are here to support you and look forward to the many events that are upcoming this year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
All right. Thank you very much. Next, I have ordinance number 914, 2019, to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a dual rate jobs growth incentive agreement with Total Quality Logistics, LLC for terms of up to 5 consecutive years in consideration of the company's proposed capital investment of $725,000, the retention of 161 jobs, and the creation of 60 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $2.67 million. Director Shoney, can you give us a little bit of background on this jobs incentive piece?
Thank you, Chair, President Harden, members of council. This is, as you outlined, this is a jobs growth incentive for Total Quality Logistics. Total Quality Logistics is currently located in the first floor of the Grange Insurance Garage down in the Brewery District. They're going to be moving basically across the street into a building, into some space that was previously occupied by Red Roof Inns. Red Roof corporate headquarters recently left the city. This is backfilling that with an expansion. TQL is an interesting company. They are one of kind of the founders of the new methodology of how trucks are deployed around the country. We're excited to have them growing in the city. This project, even after the incentive, will be generating about $50,000 a year in new income tax revenue for the city, so we're excited about that. Because this is an existing building where the abatement has burned off, if you will, there will be no property tax incentive necessary for this project.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Council President Harden, with your permission, can I move into environment?
Please.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to invite Tim Swager, the Administrator of the Refuse, up to the podium. Next, I have ordinance number 927, 2019, to authorize the Director of Public Service to renew the contract with Rumpke of Ohio, Inc. for yard waste and recycling collection services, to authorize the expenditure of up to $5,389,741 from the general fund and up to $3,627,995 from the street construction maintenance and repair fund to pay for the contract renewal and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the Director of Public Service to renew a contract to add funds for year 3 of the collection services of yard waste and recyclables 2017 contract with Rumpke of Ohio, Inc. in the amount of $9,017,736, and to authorize the Director of Public Service to execute contract modifications if needed to clarify terms and conditions of the contract or to implement program investments and enhancements. Continuation of a separate collection for yard waste and recyclable items is necessary to segregate them from the regular waste stream. This serves to extend the life of the landfill operated by the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio. I'd now like to turn the mic over to Administrator Tim Swager to give a little bit more background about this contract, please.
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Remy, other council members. This ordinance 927, it continues the recycling and yard waste for the 201,000 residential households that we have here in the city. As you probably have read in the news lately, the change in recycling worldwide has, with China's national sword, has put a crunch on recycling in the East Coast and West Coast, but we're very fortunate here in the Midwest with Rumpke, our contract vendor here. They recycle over 98% of the recycled materials that we bring in the city of Columbus is recycled within 250 miles of the city of Columbus. So they have a marketplace here, so we've not been as affected by the stuff that you read in the media as the East Coast, West Coast, who exported all of their recyclable materials. So that's allowed us to continue to recycle under this without a tremendous impact to us there as well. The program's been successful since its inception in 2012. We've saved about 206,000 tons of material from going into the landfill during that time, and we've recognized a saving of over $11 million in tipping fees that we have not had to expend. The recycling rate that we're doing is about 32,000 tons a year, and that's remained flatline the last couple of years. So we are currently working with a couple of vendors. We have some RFPs that you guys previously passed, some grant money that we received in coordination with SWACO, where we're actually studying the recycling program currently, looking at ways that we can increase recycling and get better education out there. Those projects are ongoing. They should complete around August, September of this year, and we look to be able to implement some of those ideas to increase the recycling, because obviously as we increase the tonnage of recycling, every pound added to that is a dollar that we save at the landfill and doesn't increase any of our cost of this contract.
Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Tim, I'd like to thank you for all the work that you do. I know how efficiently you run that department, and certainly want to thank all your drivers and everybody that make it happen on a day in and day out basis for the city of Columbus. Their service is impactful. Of course, we've been working very closely together along with the mayor on illegal dumping and all the things that affect neighborhoods in such a big way. And so lots of moving parts over there, but I want to take the opportunity to thank you for all that you do and look forward to continuing our partnership.
Thank you very much.
Seeing no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
And that's all I have in environment this evening.
Thank you, Chair Remy. The next committee to come before council is the Health Committee, Health and Human Services Committee, chaired by Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you very much. I have ordinance 803-2019. This to authorize and direct the appropriation of $15,000 within the Neighborhood Initiatives Fund to Columbus Public Health to support initiatives for the local food action plan and to declare an emergency. The purpose of this ordinance is to appropriate the $15,000 in the Neighborhood Initiatives Fund to support the local food action plan. The funding being provided will help facilitate the implementation of the local food action plan priority to develop Farmers Market Collaborative to serving the City of Columbus through a contract with the nonprofit Ohio Farmers Market Network to hire a certified farmers market manager. This market manager will provide technical assistance to the farmers markets and neighborhood farm stands located in the City of Columbus, including but not limited to the Linden Farmers Market, the Clintonville Farmers Market, Bronzeville Growers Market, Franklin Park Conservatory Farmers Market, Pearl Market, Westgate Farmers Market, North Market Farmers Market, Greater Southeast Communities United Garden of Gethsemane. This is a community-wide effort to support these 8 markets operating in Columbus and to supply reliable source of local food, healthy food, and affordable food for more than 860,000 residents while increasing economic opportunities for the estimated 90-plus vendors who sell at these markets. And again, it's part of the local food action plan. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 879-2019. It is to authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept a grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services for the Healthy Start Grant Program in the amount of $1,070,000 to authorize the appropriation $1,070,000 from the unappropriated balance of the Health Department's Grants Fund and declare an emergency. Dr. Roberts, would you like to share some information about this grant, the grant dollars?
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. So this grant is a renewal. This is not the first time we've had this grant, and this will allow us to continue our home visiting programs for our expectant moms and new moms to help reduce our infant mortality rates here in Franklin County. So we're pleased to get this federal grant again and to continue the great work we do with home visiting.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. And this grant, we're focusing primarily on African American women, and certainly as thinking about as council member, President Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown just stated about, this is also April 11th through 17th is a Black Maternal Health Month, and it's to focus on our African American moms and their children. This particular grant is focused on primarily African American women and within the City of Columbus zip codes, and the Healthy Start program is to fund 700 clients. 3 of them are pregnant women, 300 are pregnant women, 300 are infants and children up to the ages of 18 months, from preconception, women, conception combined, and 100 fathers or male partners affiliated with the Healthy Start Women, Infant, and Children's Program. And clients receive education on pregnancy, women's health, infant growth, development, safety, nutrition, immunizations, breastfeeding, and safe sleep. And if there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Thank you. And the final ordinance in my committee is ordinance number 913-2019 to authorize the Board of Health to enter into a contract with various vendors for the Ryan White Part A program for the provision of outpatient ambulatory care, non-medical case management, medical case management, mental health services, housing services, emergency financial assistance for persons living with HIV or AIDS in Delaware, Fairfield, Franklin, Licking, Madison, Morrow, Pickaway, and Union counties, to authorize expenditure of $3,012,777 from the Health Department's Grants Fund and to pay the cost thereof and to declare an emergency. And again, these dollars are coming from the federal government. We do not have to have a match, as well as with the previous ordinance that came from the federal government, and we do not have to have a match for that $1 million. These funds will provide dollars to the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, Equitas Health, the Research Institute at Nationwide Children's Hospital, the Ohio State University Department of Internal Medicine, and the Ohio State University Hospital. In 2018, the Ryan White Part A program for Central Ohio area served over 2,400 people living with HIV through several programs and that I mentioned previously. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. That's all I have in my committee.
Thank you, Chair. Seeing no further business coming for council, may I have a motion for adjournment? Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass. Our meeting is adjourned.